Jacobson is suing his sister, flight attendant Kelly Cole, for an unpaid loan to pay her bills. Kelly says she assumed the money was a gift.
Mr. Jacobson, you claim a loan to the defendant, who's your sister,
yes,
in the amount of $3,000. Your sister acknowledges that you gave her $3,000, but your sister says it wasn't a loan, it was a gift. When did you make this loan?
In April.
Tell me about it.
My partner had passed away in March, and I hadn't really seen my sister since 2000. And when he passed away, she showed up at the wake. Then after that, there has been a couple of times that I had talked to her sporadically on the phone, and she had told me that, you know, her roommate had gave her some bad checks and that she was in need of some cash. So I asked her how much would be the minimum that she would need to pay her car payments, the child care for her daughter, and her utility bills. And she said $3,000. So I told her that I could probably swing that.
And when you handed her the money, what kind of conversation did you have?
Well, I told her that I could loan her the money and I needed it to be repaid, but I told her I would loan it to her at a 0% interest, you know, because she was in need.
Why didn't you speak to your sister for the 2-year period between 2000 and 2000?
My sister and my brother were in business together, and he had gotten hurt. So then when he was in the hospital, my sister sort of just swung in, and she wanted to take over the business. And in that time, they were behind on all their bills, so then my mom got involved into it. Then she started running the business with my brother, and then my sister was out of it. So there was a big family dispute over the whole entire mess.
Did you ask your sister back for this money?
Yes.
When?
Every month.
What did she say?
She would show me a stack of bills, and she says, I don't have any to give to you. And in August, she just blew up and was like yelling and using foul language. And then she told me that I should have told you months ago that I was not ever going to pay you.
All right, Ms. Cole, let's hear your version of these events.
Where would you like me to start?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, I would like you to start on the 29th of April when your brother handed you $3,000.
April.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Let's start at April. Okay. He gave me the $3,000. I had driven out there. I had not spoken to either one of them for over a year, not because my brother was hurt. My other brother, who I was in business with, who my mother talked me into going into business with this brother.
How old are you?
Old enough to know better.
So don't blame anybody else for your mistakes. I want to hear about the $3,000.
Okay, the $3,000.
So your brother gave you $3,000 because you said you were behind on your bills. Why didn't you pay him back?
Because I assumed that it was a gift, because I didn't find out until 2 weeks later from my Aunt Carol, who had gone to a picnic with them. She came back to me, she goes, Kelly, do you know that gift that your brother gave you was a loan?
Listen to me, I'm not interested in what somebody said to you outside of this courtroom.
Yes.
I want to know why, in your mind, you think that this brother, who you weren't in business with, would give you $3,000.
Because he and my mother went into the company after my brother was stabbed and took the company, went into bank accounts, took money, back-charged my account, which put me $27,000 in debt, and turned around and deposited into their new DBA account. They took over the business, both of them.
Ms. Cole, I think that you have a persecution complex. So far, you have two brothers and a mother. You're not talking to your mother, this brother, or your other brother, because everybody is trying to scam you. Is that right?
Not everybody's trying. They've always done it.
Is there any particular reason for that?
Because I was very close to my grandmother.
Oh, you are a very sick girl. You owe your brother $3,000. Pay it. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
This is case number 314 on the calendar in the matter of Sands versus Azarovich. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks have seats.
Mr. Sands, the defendant is the girlfriend of your former landlord.
Correct.
And it is your claim that during an argument that took place really between your landlord and you, that the defendant assaulted you, caused you substantial injury, caused you to be seen by a doctor, caused you substantial pain and suffering, and you want to be compensated for that.
Correct.
Ms. Esarovich, is your boyfriend here today?
Yes.
Is that this gentleman right here?
Yes.
Okay. You had been a tenant of his for some time. There had been some problems. You wanted the place painted because you said there was paint chipping. He wasn't responsive to your request. You called the housing department. He was forced to paint. You say in retaliation to that, they moved to have you evicted. You ultimately won a settlement from them. So far, is that generally what happened?
Yes.
Now, the garage space had become an issue. Is that right, Mr. Sands?
Yes.
This is when this altercation took place. Now, Mr. Sands, why don't you tell me the date that this incident took place?
It was on September 7th of 2001.
And tell me what happened.
Miss Esarovich and Mr. Evanson approached the gate of the yard leading into my house. I was outside and I asked them if there was something I could do to help them, and they didn't answer, but they proceeded to go into the garage, which was part of the property that I had been renting for in excess of 4 years.
Well, do you have a lease?
I do.
And does the lease include the garage?
It wasn't specified.
If it's not specified, it doesn't include the garage.
However, I had been in full use of the garage for the entire term of my tenancy without sharing it with any other tenants.
Listen, if you have a lease that says that you are renting a house and there is another property on that land, some other edifice, and if it's not specified that you have use of that, that your rent also includes that, you're not entitled to it. In any event, they came on the property that you were renting in order to deal with this garage issue. Let's proceed from there.
Okay, well, they proceeded to walk into the garage. I didn't know what they were doing because they hadn't responded to me when they came into the yard. So I followed them into the garage and I asked them what they were doing. And they told me that they were looking at their garage. And I said that you need to have given me 24 hours of written notice to, examine the property.
It's not your property. Garage is not your property. They didn't go into your house, did they?
Well, they went into something that I viewed as being included in the
That's
in the
your
property.
view. That's your view. That's not their view. That's not my view. They don't have to give you written notice of going and looking at their property. What if there was a
Okay.
guest house on your property? A guest house on the property?
According to the officials that I spoke to
I'm
at
telling
the
you,
rent
I don't
control-
believe that. So
Okay.
let's move on.
Sure.
They went to look at their property.
Okay. And I told them that I would have to call the police, which I then did. I went back into the house, and at that point I asked Emily, who's a friend of mine who had showed up to go to this yoga class with me, to bring me out my regular phone. At that point, I dialed 911 on the regular phone. The police came eventually onto the phone. At that point, the landlord and this woman came out of the garage. She saw Emily standing near the house and started screaming at her.
What was she saying?
She said, "Who is this woman? She is not allowed to be on the property. She is not on your lease. Where are your wife and children? And you are a liar," and et cetera, et cetera. At that point, I walked up and stood between the two of them and said, "She is allowed to be on the property. She's my guest, and you can't come and scream at a guest of mine.
Absolutely right.
You need to leave. This is inappropriate." At that point, I felt my arms pulled behind me like this. And I realized that it was the landlord, Mr. Evanson, who had grabbed me from behind. He then pulled my shirt up around my neck and through my mouth and started strangling me. At that point, I became relatively concerned and I started screaming for help. I continued to scream for help until I couldn't speak anymore. He choked me so forcefully.
Could we move this on a little faster, please?
Sure.
Good.
After that, Mila walked up, and I assumed that she was going to tell him to let me go. But she didn't. She stood at a 45-degree angle to me, and she kicked my right knee in.
That's what we're talking about.
That's what this suit is based on.
Okay. Now, I want you to tell me your version of the events, and please try to do it a little faster.
Okay, this is on the date of September 7, at 6 o'clock approximately. Okay, well, before
Just, you get there.
Okay.
You go into the garage.
that, right.
Go ahead.
Well, Mr. Sands, he closed the door behind us and turned the lights off and left us in the dark.
Go ahead.
His dog was viciously barking at us.
Where was the dog?
The dog was by his side.
Was the dog on a leash?
No.
Go ahead.
Then he approached me and started threatening me.
What did he say?
Well, he approached me as close like that, to my face. and start threatening me and screaming.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I never kneed him in the groin.
Just a minute. What do you mean you may have injured him?
I was trying to escape by elbowing him.
You're on the
I
roof.
think that's a crock who shot John.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charles Sands says his former landlord's girlfriend, Mila Azarovich, assaulted him by kicking him in the knee. Mila says Charles kicked her fiancé in the groin.
Go ahead.
Then Lars was concerned about my safety. He circled his arms around Charles Sands.
From the back.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
And he's very experienced in this kind of situation, how to handle it in non-violent manner.
He circled him. He immobilized him.
Right.
Go ahead.
At that moment, Charles Sands kicked him in the groin area very hard. The next moment, Charles Sands took a bat in his hand and hit Lars in his face, then in his ribs, and Lars fell on the concrete floor. Rick Sanchez came out. He tried to pull them.
Who is Mr. Sanchez?
Is
Is he a neighbor?
Yes.
Would you step up, sir?
Sure.
You're Mr. Sanchez?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
How long have you been a tenant?
10 years.
Did you witness any of this altercation?
I did.
Would you tell me what you saw, sir?
On that evening, approximately the same time that both of them mentioned, I had been traveling. I came home, I was laying on my couch, and I heard some screams for help, 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 help.
Male voice, female voice?
It was a male voice. It was a male voice. And knowing that Chuck lives in the back, I didn't know if a vehicle had fallen on him or whatever the case was. And I went to the back bedroom, looked out the window. And when I looked out the window, I saw Mr. Evanson had Mr. Sands around the neck from behind with his shirt around his neck and was holding him, not allowing him to move. I decided to go outside. I went out and I told Mr. Evanson, you don't want to do this, let go of Chuck, let's stop this, at which time he did. Mila was out there also at the time, and of course there was some screaming and yelling and what have you. And he let go of Chuck, and I think I mentioned to Chuck's girlfriend to call the police. I don't know if she already had or not, but I said, call the police. And I went back in the house, and when I went back in the house, I heard some more commotion, so I came back out. Mr. Evanson and Mr. Sands were at separate ends of the yard, and at which time I said, this needs to stop. And I think Mila at that point had forced Lars out the back gate, and they exited the property.
Did you see either of these two gentlemen injured in any way?
No, I did not.
Didn't see him injured?
I didn't see him injured.
And you didn't see him injured?
I did not.
Did you hear either one of them complain about being injured?
No, I did not.
Didn't limp? You didn't see him limp?
I didn't notice.
He didn't say anything to you. I'm injured,
He
call
did
an
not say-
ambulance.
he did not say
Call-
anything to me.
Call an ambulance, I need medical attention?
No.
Nothing?
No.
Oh. What kind of property is this, Mr. Sanchez?
It's a rental property that has a rental above. I live on the bottom floor, and then in the back there is another residence there, which is where Mr. Sands lives.
And what about this garage? Can you tell me about it?
Yeah, it's a removed area. You have the back part of the house, and then probably 5 to 8 feet there's a garage there.
Who uses that garage?
I really never knew. I don't know.
You don't use it?
I do not use it, no.
Do you have a lease?
I do.
Does your lease provide for use of any garage space?
No, it does not.
Did you ever have occasion to call the Board of Health or anyone else with regard to the property and its being in unsafe condition?
I never made a call like that, no.
Thank you. Have a seat. Okay, so you got kicked in the knee, Mr. Sands. Let's hear the rest.
So she kicked me in the knee.
That's what you told me. And this was on the 7th of September?
Yes.
Can I see the medical reports, please? By the way, tell me about the settlement that you won when you sued them. How many times have you sued them?
No, I didn't actually sue them. What happened was I had complained about lead-based paint that was flaking off of the house, and had been doing that for basically the entire term of my tenancy. I have 2 small children, and I was very concerned about this. I told them that I was going to have to complain to the city. They said, do whatever you want, and I did that. The city came out, issued them an order to comply, and within a week they filed to evict me.
Repainted. Oh, they filed to evict you?
Right. The only grounds that they could use if I hadn't done anything wrong, they said that they were going to move into my house.
Okay.
So within a week of them receiving this order to comply, they had filed to evict me.
Go ahead.
We were involved in this eviction process wherein they tried to say that my children didn't live with me, et cetera, et cetera.
Do they live with you?
Yes, they do. Mm-hmm. They were attempting to do that so that they wouldn't have to pay me the full relocation fee, which is required by the Rent Control Board. After several court appearances, they settled for a relocation sum that was considerably larger than they would have had to pay in the first place.
Which was what?
$5,000 is the amount that a family is entitled to for relocation.
Is that what you got?
No, actually I got in the neighborhood of $8,000.
That sounds pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Well, considering
Let me ask
that
you this question. Diagnostic impression here is that you have, other than one knee contusion, and you went to the doctor, I see, a day later, not that day. So you weren't feeling too badly that day. You went a day later. You have mild something right, something strain, right shoulder abrasion, mild soft tissue trauma to the neck. Okay? So you take a little aspirin. Since none of the last three of these injuries is attributed to the defendant, but attributed to the landlord, I'm curious as to why you chose to sue her instead of him.
Well, as I was being assaulted, let me continue.
No, just answer my question. You answer my question.
Okay, there's two reasons. First of all, I don't believe that Mr. Evanson is fully responsible for his actions. He has had some brain injury in the past, and I think he may be being manipulated by this woman. Secondly, as I was trying to escape, in my struggle, I may have injured him. However, I never kneed him in the groin.
Just a minute. What do you mean you may have injured him? How may you have injured him, sir?
As he was choking me from behind. He's considerably taller than I am.
I see that.
I was trying to escape by elbowing him. Mm-hmm. So I may have injured him.
So it's a fair statement, so that the reason you didn't sue him and chose to sue her, you felt that he may have a defense of self-defense, and she had none.
No, not precisely.
Yeah. Would you step up, please? Tell me your name.
My name is Emily Gray.
Where do you live, Miss Gray?
I live in Newport Beach.
Okay. Tell me what your relationship is with Mr. Sands.
I'm a good friend of Mr. Sands.
Do you know his wife?
Yes, I do.
What's her name?
Anne.
Where does Anne live?
She lives in San Pedro as well. I don't know the exact location.
But she doesn't live with Mr. Sands?
Not presently.
That is correct. She does not live with Mr. Sands.
She does not live with him now.
And she was not living with him in September of 2001?
She might have just moved out.
Right. Now, how old are Mr. Sands' two children?
His son is about 14 and his daughter is about 7.
And who do those children live with?
They live with him.
They live with him. And they were living with him in September of 2001 after his wife moved out?
Yes.
Does he have permanent custody of those children?
I don't know exactly the details. They spend weekends with their mothers. Otherwise, they're mainly at his house.
Where do they go to school from?
What do you mean from?
Where do they go to school from? From your house?
Yeah.
Both of them?
Right.
Okay. Do you have joint custody of the children?
My son and my daughter are from 2 different marriages.
Do you have joint custody of your children, sir?
I have primary custody of my son, and there is no actual paperwork because we're only separated. My daughter's mom and I are only separated.
They still get along. I mean, you and your ex-wife still get along.
My
so.
daughter's mom and I get along pretty well. And
I'm not interested in that, whether you still get along pretty well or not. I'm just interested in why somebody gave you $8,000 to move.
Because it was established that the kids live with me.
You're on the rules.
Now, was he treated for any injuries that he sustained that day?
Yes.
You have the medical report on that?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
He saw that his tooth was knocked out. So I just
All right, and his diagnosis is groin contusion, facial contusion, and prescription is ice and Motrin in the evening for pain. So you were right, Mr. Sands. You did injure him. Mm-hmm. Did he sue you?
No.
Why do you think that is, sir?
Because any injuries that he sustained were due to self-defense on my part. He attacked me from behind, and he...
You think you both behaved badly that day?
No, I don't. I don't believe I behaved badly. I tried to escape.
If you tried to escape, sir, you had already gotten outside of the garage. You went inside to get a telephone.
No,
you went inside. Pay careful attention to me, sir.
Okay.
You went inside to get a telephone before anything happened to call 911. And you said you walked outside. Now, if you wanted to defuse a situation before anything happened, you stay inside, you call 911.
Actually, I was concerned that they might do something strange in my garage. We were at that point embroiled in a bitter eviction matter. I didn't know what they were capable of.
Well, Mr. Sands, I know this, sir. I know.
So I was keeping an eye on them.
They paid you $8,000 in order to get you and your children, who were there sometimes and not there other times, to move. And I know that this gentleman, who you described as someone who may not be functioning optimally because of some injury, was more injured than you were that day. That I know for sure from reading the medical records. And you said that the reason you didn't sue him is because you felt sorry, because you didn't think that perhaps he understood everything that was going on. And I think that that's a crock of who shot John. I think that the reason you didn't sue him is because his injuries were more severe than yours. And if he got kicked in the shins by his girlfriend, so be it. You got $8,000 from them. You're not getting another penny, Mr. Sands. Goodbye.
This is case number 192 on the calendar in the matter of White versus Vargas. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
Mr. White, according to your complaint, sir, the defendant is a neighbor of yours.
Yes.
And he shot your dog.
Yes, he did.
Shh. The dog survived.
Yes.
And still have the dog, but you had a lot of vet bills.
Right.
And you wanted him also to pay for the psychological damage that was caused to you and your family as a result of this shooting.
Yes.
Where was your dog when he shot the dog?
My dog was in his front yard when he was shot.
And where were you?
I was out of town. I was on vacation.
And who was with the dog at the time that he shot the dog that was in his front yard?
No, when the dog had gotten out of the backyard to the fence.
And what kind of little dog was this?
He's not a little dog. He's a Rottweiler.
A Rottweiler?
Yes.
And the Rottweiler, I mean, I know a little bit about dogs. A Rottweiler weighs several hundred pounds.
Yes.
Right?
Right, 100, yes.
Well, what was your dog doing in his front yard?
I'm not sure what he was doing, but he was just cutting through, I believe, heading back down the street like he does occasionally.
That's outrageous, sir. What is your 100-and-some-odd-pound dog doing out unattended by a member of your family who's able to control the dog? What if somebody's afraid of dogs?
Well, the dog, it's kind of hard and difficult to keep the dog in the yard sometimes, but when the dog does get out.
Never! It's never too hard to keep a big dog in your own property. In the house, in the yard, fenced in, tied up, or at all times under your control. I read this and it sounded to me as if you're the victim. You're not the victim. Your dog is the victim of your negligence. Is this your wife?
No, it's my neighbor.
Who else lives in your home?
No one.
Just you?
Yes.
When you went out that day, where did you leave your dog?
In the house.
Well, then how'd the dog get out of the house?
Well, I had a carpenter there working on the house who had gone out to get some wood. The dog had come outside to go to the bathroom. He'd carried the wood back into the house and then heard the shot.
This is what your carpenter is telling you?
Yes, this is what I was
But your dog's gotten out before?
Yes, he has.
Right. Well, that's what I gather. And you're here as a neighbor to tell me it's a sweet, loving, friendly dog that you're not afraid of. Is that right?
Correct.
I don't care. Some little 5-year-old might be afraid of a 150-pound Rottweiler that comes walking up to them, even if it's the friendliest dog in town. So, that being the case, let me get to Mr. Vargas over here. Mr. Vargas, I gather that initially you denied that you shot the dog, but then you said to him, yeah, I shot your dog. Your dog was in my front yard, and my child was out there. Was your child outside?
Yes, she was.
How old is your child?
She's 13.
This your child?
Yes.
You have a picture of the dog?
Yes, I do.
Sure, let me see it. Looks like an absolutely lovely, lovely dog. For you to keep in your house, under your control, not to think it's just such a wonderful dog, everybody's going to love it.
Well, I don't feel it that way. I know the dog looks like it could be, you know, very dangerous, but he's not by any means. As a matter of fact, my neighbors all know the dog very well because, like I said, the dog's kind of he's been raised around humans. He's never been with other dogs. He thinks he's human himself. Everybody who comes over, you know, he meets him at the front door to be petted. He's a loving dog. All the neighbors love him, of course. Like I said, he's never had any incident before where he's caused any damage to anyone or even threatened anyone.
Mr. White, this dog is doing what this dog has been trained to do, which is he's a block dog. He feels as if he has sort of control to go outside if he wants to. People adore him. They may give him a treat. Your neighbor adores him, which is all very nice. But this is a very large animal. This isn't a Chihuahua that can't cause substantial damage. If somebody is walking in a baby carriage and for some reason this dog gets spooked by something, and even if the dog doesn't go over and try to hurt them, they can start running, the baby carriage can tip over, the baby can become injured through no fault of the dog's. Through your fault.
Well,
that's your fault.
But isn't that the reason to have dog pounds and a dog catcher in case your dog does get out, or a dog registry for lost dogs?
What if you think that this dog, because you don't know the dog, all you see is this huge dog on your lawn.
Well, wait a second.
Your daughter is screaming outside. Is that what was happening? Step up. Now you tell me. What happened when you saw the dog?
When I saw the dog, it was barking at me and showing its teeth, like in an angry way.
Were you frightened?
Yes.
Where were you standing?
In my driveway.
And where was the dog?
At the end of the driveway.
And what happened next?
I called my dad's name, and he had gone and get his gun, and he took care of it.
And he shot the dog? Didn't kill it? No.
Right.
That's what pounds are for.
Well, like I said...
Go ahead. I'm listening to you.
Say I was inside the house. I was looking out our bay window and looked across the street. They were outside.
Who's they?
Caesar, the kids, the whole
Kids?
family. Right.
Yes?
Didn't see the dog. All I seen was him standing at his garage. Two sounds that sounded like a shotgun, but it was getting close to 4th of July, so I thought maybe it was firecrackers. Ran back to the back door and opened up the garage door, and that's when I seen the puffs of smoke coming from his garage. But like I said, I did not know at that point in time the dog had been shot.
Just a minute. So you saw his daughter outside?
Yes, but the dog wasn't barking and they weren't screaming.
Listen, how long have you been neighbors?
3 years.
Have you ever seen the dog out before?
Yes.
Did you ever shoot the dog before?
No.
Did you ever say anything to him about the dog before?
No.
But the dog has been out before.
Right.
And it's true, over the last 3 years, you've not had a problem with him. Is that right?
No, I haven't had a problem at all with him, except for the fact that a couple weeks prior to this, I'd been riding my motocross bike in some trails there in my neighborhood. While bringing the bike back home, I passed his wife on the sidewalk. She was walking down the sidewalk with a stroller, and she hollered something at me like, slow down. And I went on by her and went on home with the bike. And maybe 20, 30 minutes later, the police showed up at my house and said that they had a report saying that I was riding the bike in their yard. I told them at that time that I wasn't riding the bike in anybody's yard. I'd taken it down the trails and back. And so,
were you going too fast, sir?
No.
You don't think so?
I don't believe so, no. It's allowed.
Why do you think, after 3 years of no problem, all of a sudden you would have a problem with them? If I'm a good neighbor and if I'm driving a motorcycle and his wife is walking with a baby in a baby carriage.
Right.
First of all, you don't have a Rottweiler roaming around in a neighborhood where there are babies in baby carriages. Period.
Right.
End of discussion.
My dog doesn't roam the neighborhood.
Yes, your dog gets out and has
right.
gotten
He has
out
broken
before.
out of the fence, like all dogs get out of their fence.
No, sir. You say that that's okay. It's not okay.
Well, I don't agree that it's okay, and I do my best.
It's not okay.
I do my best to keep the dog in the
But
fence.
your best isn't good enough.
Like I said,
Your best, Mr. White, isn't good enough.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
If you're driving a motorcycle and you pass a woman and she says to you, hey, slow down, and what you said is you just kept on going.
Well, yes.
No, just a minute. That's what you said.
Yes,
oh,
I
yeah,
did.
that's what I did. I just kept on going. That to me is rude. Rude!
And later today,
I agreed to loan him the money to keep him out of jail.
Your Honor, I worked on her computer at least 4 times.
So what? You're hustling me, sir.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Philip White says neighbor Caesar Vargas shot his Rottweiler Bones. Caesar says Bones was threatening his daughter.
if you're going out and you have carpenters in your house that you know are going to be taking wood in and taking wood out, and you're not going to be there all day, you take your dog to a kennel. And you say, I want to make sure my dog doesn't get out because it's dangerous for my dog to be out in the street. It could cause a car accident. So I'm going to take my dog to the kennel for the day because I'm not around to supervise this 150-pound dog. That's what you do.
Well, if the man had shot my dog to defend his family, I would have thought that was one thing.
That's what he says he did.
That's what he says he did. And why then he told me that he didn't do it? Why did he deny it?
Because he didn't want to get into an argument with you.
When the police asked him why he shot the dog, he denied it to them also.
Why do you think he shot your dog?
I think he shot my dog because he, out of benediction, or maybe possibly shooting the wrong dog. Like I said, my dog's real fat popular. My dog lived on the roof of my
Mr.
house.
White, you ain't going to get it, sir. Listen to me.
I
You know why you're not going to get it? You're not going to get it for two reasons. First of all, if you're driving a motorcycle and you pass a woman who's walking with a baby carriage and she says to you, hey, slow down.
Right.
And that's your neighbor. And what you said is you just kept on going.
Well, yes.
No, just a minute. That's what you said.
Yes,
oh,
I
yes,
did.
that's what I did. I just kept on going. That to me is rude. Rude! Because you stop the motorcycle and you say to your neighbor, I'm sorry, I didn't realize I was going too fast. I'm sorry if I frighten you. That's what you say to a neighbor. You don't say, psh.
Well, obviously, my neighbor and I aren't that close, so I mean,
I don't care whether you're close or not.
My neighbor's there until the police
What
came.
difference is it if it's your neighbor or not? If a woman walking with a baby carriage says to you that you're driving too fast, then you stop and you say, I'm sorry.
I
You
did
seem
put
to
the
think
motorcycle-
everything you do is okay.
No.
Pay the vet bill. It's your responsibility. And go and say, I'm sorry to your dog.
Pay the
Goodbye.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
I was just frightened for my child.
I don't believe the time that the dog was threatening anybody.
I grabbed my shotgun.
The dog avoids people. He's never attacked or done anything that played with children.
I wasn't aiming. I just shot towards it.
I feel it's very unfair for the dog.
I just hope it doesn't happen again and none of my brothers and sisters get hurt.
And now the next case.
All parties on Cochran versus Matthews. Step forward, please.
Retired computer specialist Loretta Cochran is suing her former friend, computer technician Chris Matthews, for an unpaid loan for child support. Chris says he worked off the debt.
Miss Cochran, you claim a loan to the defendant in the amount of $5,000. You claim that you have given him certain credits. He owes you slightly less than $5,000 on the loan. Mr. Matthews says that you had an agreement, and the agreement was that it was a barter arrangement, that you gave him $5,000, and he agreed to do some work for you and half of the civilized world in exchange for the money that he needed to pay back child support. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you know him?
I know him from the local flea market at home. He ran a computer shop.
And you?
I ran a booth there selling Beanie Babies, etc.
Tell me about this loan, Miss Cochran.
Well, Chris needed to pay us back child support.
How did you find that out?
Well, he was talking about it at his shop where other people were. He was working on my personal computer, and he was talking about how he needed to raise the money to get to pay his child support. And I agreed to loan him the money to keep him out of jail.
When you say you agreed to loan him the money, either he asked you for the money or you volunteered.
No, he asked for the money.
What did he say? That's what I want to know.
Oh, gee. He wanted some help on paying the back child support.
What prompted you to give him such a large sum of money?
Well, he really promised to pay it back within...
Tell me what he said,
He
Ms.
said
Cochran,
that he was getting a $4,000 income tax refund and that he would be able to pay me back within 90 days. So I thought for a short time, yes, I can do this.
He was probably concerned that he was going to go to jail unless he paid.
Yes.
Did he say that to you?
Oh, yes.
Well, I want you to tell me what he said, Ms. Cochran.
Well, he said he was going to have to go to jail if he didn't raise the money by February the 6th. He had to go to court. And so we went to the bank on January the 27th, I think, and got the money and gave him a cashier's check so he could pay the bill.
So he said that he would pay you back when he got his income tax refund, which would have been $4,000, and then make up the rest.
Yes.
Did he pay you anything?
He paid me nothing.
When did you first ask him for the money?
After he went to court and, you know, had some time had passed by, and I said, let's talk about this. And he would tell me to come over to the flea market, come over to the shop. He would have some money. I'd go over. He wouldn't have any money. Weeks and months went by. He moved his business and went into business with some other guys. And he paid everybody else, but he won't pay me.
All right, Mr. Matthews, now I'll hear you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I don't dispute the fact that I borrowed the money from her. We had made an agreement that I would pay the money back, and then business had dropped, and I came back to her and I said, I don't have the money. I don't know when I'll have it. I'll pay you. She made the agreement that I could work it off on working on her computers, friends' computers.
Tell me about that,
And
Mr.
I guess
Matthews.
they would reimburse her that way.
Tell me about that, sir. Tell me about this new agreement. When was it? Where were you when you made
It was
this
about
new...
March, and it was at her home,
What were you doing at her home?
working on her computer.
Okay. Go ahead.
And she had said, hey, you know, you could do this kind of work. We can knock it off the bill, you know, until you can get straight and whatnot.
Yeah, for a couple of hundred.
Go ahead.
And I kept doing this work and...
Doing what work?
On the computers.
Well, how many computers
I
did you
worked
work
on her computer twice at the shop, twice at her home. I worked on her lawn keeper's computer. I just worked on another friend of hers' computer. I repeatedly worked on everything.
No, not repeatedly. You worked on her computer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And she's giving you certain credit for working on her computer because she says in her complaint, I even credited him $164 because he did some work on my computer.
Your Honor, I worked on her computer at least 4 times.
So what? She kept you out of jail. How much do you think you'd be charged in interest on a $5,000 loan?
I wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. You're
No,
not
ma'am.
very good in math, just on computers?
Just, I don't know what the interest rate you're speaking of.
Any
speaking
interest
9%,
rate, sir.
15%, 20%?
Let's try 10%.
Okay. 10% would be right at $500.
So forget about her computer that you worked on. How many friends' computers did you work on under this arrangement that you claim you had with her?
2.
And who were those people?
One was her lawn keeper and one was a personal friend of hers.
And you accepted no money from these people?
From one of them I did.
2 of them.
How much? Just a second. Which one did you accept money from?
The last one that I worked on it 8 hours and I only charged her for 4 hours of labor.
So what? So forget about that one. You're hustling me, sir. Now, was that the lawn keeper or was that a friend?
That was the friend.
When did you work on the lawn keeper's computer?
Sometime in March.
And how many hours did you spend on that?
On the lawn keeper, 6 hours.
And tell me about the conversation that you had with the plaintiff with regard to her benefiting from your working on her lawn keeper's computer.
She said that she would then take it out and trade with her lawn keeper as far as taking care of her lawn.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, I paid for the computer. I paid cash.
What do you mean you paid cash for the computer?
When he fixed this computer for a friend of mine.
We're talking about the lawn
No,
keeper.
ma'am.
Well, the lawn keeper is a friend.
What difference does it make? It's not $5,000 we're talking about here, Mr. Matthews. You have an obligation. Your obligation is to pay child support. How many children do you have that's covered by this child support order?
1.
And what's your child support order?
It's $560 a month.
So in order for you to have amassed $5,000 worth of arrears, you didn't pay for a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
So you shun that responsibility. This lady, a total stranger to you, says, I will loan you the money because you asked her for it. That's what you just told me. You just told me that you borrowed the money from her. Borrowed. She's not your wife, is she?
No, ma'am.
She's not your sister?
No, ma'am.
She's not your cousin?
No, ma'am.
She's not your aunt?
No, ma'am.
She's not your best friend?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So she's a stranger to you. Stranger. She took care of your responsibility for
Yes,
your child to pay child support. Then you tell her, I don't have any money. Sorry, I thought I'd have money. I don't have money. That's what you told the mother of your child, too. I'm sorry. What do you want me to shoot me? I don't have money. Collect cans.
Your Honor, everything
Now listen
was-
to me. Collect cans. Go out, collect cans, 5 cents a piece, collect bottles, put them in, then you have money. Listen to me, sir. She's not supposed to pay your child support. You're supposed to pay your child support.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. So she took the money out of the bank, which cost her interest. According to my calculations, you owe her at least $5,000 because that's how much she lost in interest. You want to say anything else to me, Mr. Matthews? And are you sure you want to say something else to me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to hear you, sir.
We made this agreement on several occasions that I would do this work for her.
But you didn't.
I've calculated work that I have done for her on 4 different occasions, and I only got $160 worth of credit off of the bill.
So what? She kept you out of jail. How long were you going to go to jail for, Mr. Matthews?
12 months.
You figure that maybe your life is worth $100 a month? Not to some people, maybe, but to you. Is it worth $100 a month?
Yes, ma'am.
$1,200? She kept you out of jail for 12 months. $1,200. Did you do more than $1,200 worth of work on her computer?
Between friends and...
Her computer.
No, ma'am.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Shalisha Scott is suing her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old cook Jermaine Butler, for claiming her children on his tax return. Jermaine is countersuing for car damage, stolen clothes, and an assault.
Miss Scott, you and Mr. Butler live together, according to what I've read. You have a child?
Yes, not together.
Not together. How old is your child?
My daughter is 22 months old.
Do you also have a niece that's living with you?
Well, she was in my care previously in 2002.
How old is she?
She's 4 years old.
Why was she in your care?
Just temporarily, just to take care of her.
I asked you a direct question. You have a niece. Is this your sister's child?
Yes.
Was your sister not in a position to take care of her?
No. She just needed some assistance, and I helped her.
Does your sister have any other children?
Yes.
How old are her other children?
She has a 10-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-month-old.
Was this the only child that was out of her custody, or were they all out of her custody?
No. There wasn't out of her custody at all. I just took care of her.
Miss Scott, according to your complaint, you lived with him, stopped living together. When he left, he took a computer and he took a car.
Yes.
You want the computer back and you want the car back.
Yes.
Those items, you say, were purchased with money that he received from his tax returns. You say he received that money from his tax returns because you allowed him to take your daughter and your niece as dependents on his tax returns. That's why I ask you these questions.
Oh.
So, do you understand?
Yes.
That's what you said in your complaint, that the only reason that these items were yours because you were taking care of a 22-month-old and a 4-year-old that year.
Yes.
So I assume you were not working.
No.
Is that right?
No, I wasn't working.
Right. So somebody was supporting you, your 22-month-old, and the 4-year-old. He says it was him because he was working.
When we got together, Jermaine didn't even have a job until...
I'm talking about the year we're talking about with his tax returns. He had to have had a job because he paid taxes and he got money back.
Me and him didn't get together till the end of 2002. So he didn't take care of my niece at all.
How long did you live together?
We lived together for about 7 months.
Who supported your 4-year-old niece?
I did during this time.
From what?
From about March to about August of 2002.
From what money?
Oh, just welfare, just taking care of her, period. Just having her there all the time, basically.
How did you support yourself before him?
I was on welfare, basically.
And your 22-month-old was on welfare?
Yes.
And the 4-year-old?
She was on her mother's welfare, yes.
Did you claim these 2 children on your tax returns?
Yes, I did.
Is that wrong?
Yes.
Of course it was wrong because we, as taxpayers, were paying for these children. And how much money did you get back as a result of claiming them on your tax returns?
Approximately $3,000.
$3,000 back. Now, but for these children, would you have gotten any money back?
Yes.
How much?
Maybe less than $1,000.
So let's say you got $2,000 back as a result of fraudulently claiming these 2 children on your tax returns. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And it's your claim, Miss Scott, that you should be entitled to what you bought with this $2,000, because if it wasn't for you giving him the right to take your daughter and your niece off on your tax returns, he wouldn't have gotten this money back.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Because you didn't work during that time. The only money that you had was provided to you by the state.
Well, actually, in the beginning of 2002, I had a job. I worked.
Well, tell me about your job.
Yes, I was a dental, not a dental assistant. I worked at Wiener Schnitzel as a manager.
Okay. How long have you been on welfare?
I've been on welfare since September 2001.
And what year tax returns are we talking about?
2002's taxes.
Fine. Then let's not quibble. The state was supporting you and your daughter. That's the money we're talking about. The state was supporting you, and you had no right to let him claim your 22-month-old or your 4-year-old on his tax returns because the state was providing you with money.
Well,
so what you want me to
idea.
do is, well, he was wrong, 100% wrong. I hope the IRS watches it and comes back and says, you owe us this money because you're not entitled to take them as dependents. They're not your dependents. You are also not entitled to any part of $2,000.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying that was our agreement we came up with to make extra money. And
you came up with a scheme. You came up with a scheme with him. It was an interesting scheme. I'll give you the law very quickly, Miss Scott. The law says that in order to come into court and ask the court to help you, you have to come in with clean hands. If you come in with dirty hands, which means that you have put your hand down, which means that you haven't done the right thing, you don't get the court's help.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes.
Right. You and he came up with a scheme, and the scheme was to get money back from the government that you didn't deserve, because the government was supporting you, your daughter, and your niece, and as a result of your scheme with him, he got back an extra $2,000. And then you were going to split the proceeds. That's the agreement that you made with him. And your complaint is that he reneged on the agreement because with that money he bought a car and he bought a computer, and when he left, he took everything back with him.
No, we were in a relationship. So everything that was bought, we bought together. Jermaine was homeless before I met him, so I brought him in thinking that he was going to be an idle husband or a future husband because we were talking about getting married and everything. And I thought that we were going to build on something, but he decided after I became pregnant, everything started getting bad. And he decided to leave.
Your whole story. Listen to me carefully.
I'm just saying.
Listen to me carefully. You're not his wife. You are legally nothing to him. Who are you?
I'm her brother.
I don't want to hear from you. Let me think that at least one member of your family was not absent when they gave out the noodle department, okay? Do you understand? She doesn't get it. Your case is dismissed. You have absolutely no cause of action. You did the wrong thing by permitting him to take two people as dependents who were not his dependents. He did the wrong thing. I'm speaking. He did the wrong thing. He ended up with a computer and, according to you, a car that he bought.
For me. That was my
That he bought partially from tax return refunds that he shouldn't have gotten, and the IRS may come back and get him. I don't know that. I know certainly you're not getting any money from him because you did the wrong thing. Goodbye, good luck, have a happy life, take your brother with you. I don't want to hear him, I don't want to look at him, I want him out of here.
Hold on for a second. Who keeps helping me?
Whoever keeps helping you, throw them out.
That's what I was going to do. Hold on.
Perfect. Just pick the right person.
Your Honor, this is case number 207 on the calendar in the matter of Reese versus Pena. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Reese, you're suing the defendant because you claim she had you falsely arrested.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you know Miss Pena before you rented a room in her house?
Yes, I was living with a friend, and they live in the same gated community. And the friend I was living with was about to go on tour for 2 months, so I needed a spot to stay until I found another spot. She offered her room for rent, you know, for a month or less.
So you knew her from
the friend, yeah.
A friend, and you had socialized. You had,
yeah.
According to your complaint, she agreed to rent you a room in her house.
Right.
And that was sort of in, I think it was in mid-May that she agreed to do that. And you paid her rent, $375?
Right.
Did he pay you any rent?
Yes, he paid me $360.
$360. Oh, so I was off.
All right, my bad.
And then she went away for a while on a weekend or something, and lo and behold, her parents come home.
Right.
And find you sleeping in their bed,
Well,
like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And they said, in effect, who the hell are you? And what are you doing here? And you explained to them that you had rented a
room
from their
daughter.
And they said, we don't like that.
Right.
So at that point, Miss Pena, then she comes back, and she said she had a fight with her parents. You did have a fight with your parents.
No.
Your parents wanted him out. Fair statement?
Yes.
And you said, I'm paid up until the end of the month. I'm not leaving.
Correct.
One thing led to another, and Miss Pena asked you to leave. According to your answer, Miss Pena, you said to him, look, you have to go, and I'll give you back your money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I don't want my money back. I need a place to stay till the end of the month. You said, I'll even give you money to go and stay in a hotel, right?
Yes.
And he said, I'm not going anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, that's true.
And then you started arguing.
Mm-hmm.
You argued for a few days.
3 days.
What were you arguing about?
Okay, Tuesday, that's the day I came into town, and my parents told me what had happened, what they spoke of,
And that's when I confronted him about exactly what had happened. I asked for his side of the story after my parents had told me. So at that point, he told me that I was lying about what my parents had told me, which was that he had paid $575. And at this point, they were very displeased at what had happened because he had lied to them in their face.
No, they were displeased that you rented him a room.
No, that's not how it was.
I want to know what you were arguing with him about.
We were arguing because he denied that my parents said that he was going to pay $360, which is what I had told them.
He had already paid $360.
Exactly, but he had told them that he was paying $575, so that's why I confronted him.
Excuse me?
Monthly.
Monthly. And he had given you $360, but that was just for 2 weeks, madam. Right.
Yes.
I mean, get with the drill with your math. He paid you for 2 weeks, $360.
Yes.
So is that what you were arguing about?
Yes.
For 3 days? What prompted you to go to the...
No, we weren't.
I'm speaking. Then you said you were arguing nonstop for 3 days. So that's... Now you've told me what you were arguing about. And since you were arguing and he wouldn't leave, you went to the police.
He threatened me on the 3rd day of our argument. So
How
I
did
filed
he threaten
a
you?
complaint. He told me, while we were arguing in the morning, a friend happened to call me on the phone. And he heard the way that...
What were you arguing about?
We were arguing about the same situation we had been arguing for the past 3 days.
Why didn't you just leave him alone and let him work out his contract, because he'd already paid till the end of May, and let him leave?
Because my parents wanted him out of the house because he had lied to them. So that's why I offered him money so he could leave early, because we...
He didn't want to leave early.
Okay. And
that
he
I'm
began
asking you why you went to the police. Now you were going to tell me that.
He threatened me.
How did he threaten you? What did he say?
Because after I had spoken to my friend on the phone, he told me that if I had anybody try to get him out of the house, that he would take care of me or he would handle that situation with me. And I had never said I was going to do anything of the sort. I was trying to get him to leave civilly. But that's why we were arguing, because I couldn't do that. So he said that if I try to have anybody escort him out of the house, that he would handle that situation. So I went and filed a complaint.
Why?
Why? Because I felt threatened. He was being very hostile.
Go ahead. So you went to the police and you filed a complaint. I want to see a copy of the complaint that you filed. First one. You filed 2 complaints, is that right?
No, just one.
Oh, really? I read your answer and it says that you filed 2 complaints.
No, I never said that.
Oh. You say in your answer, madam, that you were arguing for 3 days, so I decided to go to the police and file a complaint. Later that day, we argued again. This time, he threatened me by saying that he had a gun. I called the police, and they came and arrested him.
Yes.
So when you went to the police the first time and you told him this baloney story, they did not come and arrest him. Is that right?
No, all I did was file a complaint against him. I went to the police department.
Okay, fine. And then what happened? Right, you filed a complaint.
The following...
What's next?
The same evening.
Yeah.
He came home, and we started arguing again, and the argument escalated.
Just a second. He came home, and shh. Pay attention to me. I'm much smarter than you are. I got it. He came home, walked in the front door. Where were you?
Sitting on the couch.
What did you say to him or he say to you?
I asked him if he would decide to leave early.
So you started with him, and you said, I want you to leave. He already told you he's not leaving. And he said what?
He said that he wasn't going to leave, began degrading me and insulting me again. At that point, he told me if I had anybody come and try to escort him out of the house or advise him to leave, that he had a gun upstairs in his room and that he would use it if it was necessary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Your story was totally different, by the way, in your complaint than what you just testified to, because you're so stupid you can't even get your facts straight.
And later today...
I had been putting money into their account because I was filing for divorce from Mr. Minks, and I was trying to hide the money from him, so...
Babe, you can't do that!
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chris Reese says ex-roommate Belinda Pena had him falsely arrested. Belinda says when she asked Chris to leave, he threatened her with violence.
Yes.
Now, at that time, they're saying that I said I had a gun. They had already taken all her and her friends. They took all my stuff out the room and they wrapped it up in a blanket with my TV, DVD player, clothes, and put it at the end of the stairs, tied in a knot. So when I was driving home in a U-Haul, because I was going to pick up a bed to put in my new spot for the next month, I was driving home in U-Haul. I got a call from one of her boyfriends talking about, you know, he's from Compton.
Just a second. So are you telling me that when you were coming home that evening, when you came in on the evening that she's talking about, she and her friends had already cleared out your room?
Downstairs on the bottom, tied up in a knot with TV, DVD, clothes, CDs, everything, iron.
Yeah.
And I walked in, there was 4 guys there, and I asked which one you guys called me on my cell phone. They was like, it's not us. She said it was somebody else. I got upset.
So there were 4 people there,
Already.
herself and how many of her friends?
4 people and her.
And her were there.
They're
Now, is
already.
that the time that you called the police?
Oh, I didn't call the police.
She called the police?
Oh, yes, yes.
Is that when you called the police?
Yes, after.
And you had 3 friends at
Which
the
had
house.
nothing to do with it.
I'm speaking and I asked you a question. You had 3 friends there. Is that correct?
They happened to stop by, yes.
Well, I want to tell you something. I'm trying to hold my fury because not only did you manipulate the justice system because of your lies, because you couldn't get your way, and you figured the only way to get your way was to file a complaint against him with the police department, so you went down there once. And your story was totally different, by the way, in your complaint than what you just testified to, because you're so stupid you can't even get your facts straight.
That's nice.
You say that he was going to get somebody to take care of you. Well, that's not what you testified to. You said, if anybody tries to get me out of here, I'm going to be able to take care of the situation, not take care of you. That was the first time you went to the police. And then when the police would do nothing, because you figured you'd go down there, cry a couple of tears, and they would be very sympathetic. They would come and throw him out. Then you had 3 friends over. You had already packed up all of his stuff. It was already in a big bundle, so you knew there was no gun upstairs in his room because the room was cleared out.
Exactly.
and because he wasn't going fast enough for you, you called the police and you had him arrested. You've got some nerve. You're a manipulative, maniacal young lady who worked the system, and he got punished for it.
5 days in jail.
Ultimately, the case was dismissed. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I wish I could put her in jail for 5 days.
That's all I wanted.
Listen to me. I wish I could put her in jail for 1 day so that she would know how it felt to lose your liberty when somebody is lying because they didn't get their way. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Eyes are excused. You may step out.
He's just a huge liar. He's a complete liar.
She had a 4-bedroom, only 2 people were living there. Paying her. She was taking trips and paying car notes.
He insulted me, degraded me, and he was hostile, violent, and I'm living in this house by myself, renting him out a room, doing him a favor.
I didn't need to be in jail. You know, I have money. It wasn't about money.
I'm not going to do favors for anybody, especially people like him.
I came here to get justice. Justice was prevailed.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Minks versus Boris. Step forward, please.
Prototype machinist Ted Minks is suing his ex-wife, student Susan Boris, for closing their son's bank accounts and stealing the money.
When were you 2 people married?
We were married until February the 5th was the final.
2503, and you have children?
Yes, we do, 2, Your Honor.
2 boys?
Yes, Your Honor.
How old are they?
14 and 10.
Who has custody of the children?
I do, Your Honor.
All of that is correct so far.
It's joint physical, legal custody. So,
that wasn't a complete sentence. Can we have the whole sentence, please?
Part of it's true. It's joint physical custody, Your Honor.
You have joint physical custody, and who has primary legal custody?
Mr. Minks does, Your Honor.
This is your complaint, that there existed bank accounts. The bank accounts were for the boys, and the custodian of those accounts was your former wife.
That is true, Your Honor.
And when the children, when you became their primary legal custodian, you wanted access to the account because you just wanted to move. I don't know what you wanted to do with the accounts. And you found out that the defendant had, in fact, closed the accounts.
If I may, I am the full physical custodian of the two children. We have joint legal, so it's the other way around. And yes, that is true. She did close the accounts and take the money from the children. And they did ask for those monies back.
How much was in each of the accounts?
I believe one was $365 and the other was $110.
So far correct?
No, Your Honor.
How much was in the accounts?
When I closed the account, one was $134 and the other was $11.
Can I see a history of the accounts, please? There wasn't a lot of money in these accounts, sir. The average balance for the last 12 months was $103.87. And that says for the average balance the last 12 months. Did you know how much money was in these accounts?
I had a good idea. I did not get regular statements, no.
Did you withdraw any other money out of these accounts for the children? Other than the monies that you withdrew, $103 and $63 when you closed them?
I withdrew some cash that I put in for my check to pay for an orthodontic bill for Joe. I had been putting money into their account for like transition because I was filing for divorce from Mr. Minks and I was trying to hide the money from him. So, and then...
Babe, you can't do that! Because the account that you opened, the tax-responsible customer, according to the accounts that you opened, were the children.
Correct.
You gave the children Social Security number. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
You made a gift to the children, an irrevocable gift to the children of any money that you put in this account, and you put a stamp on that when you said, I don't pay any income tax on the interest. The children do, and here's the children's Social Security number, because they can accumulate so much interest without having to pay taxes on it. So you can't cut it both ways. You can't hide money from the IRS, and you can't hide money from him. Simple. Now, you could transfer the money from those accounts from one bank to another. You can take that money and you can buy a bond, as long as it's in the same amount. You can take that money and you can buy stocks, as long as you're acting reasonably, I assume. But you can't take that money and pay for your own expenses and hide money because you're going through a divorce. You can't do that. Simple.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
So now I have to know how much money was in the accounts, and I have to see a statement of the account. How long were you planning this divorce?
Since July.
I want to see a statement of the account prior to that.
I don't have one, Your Honor. There's an order of protection Mr. Minks put on me. I have no access to my records.
Fine. Since I don't have that information, I'm going to direct that that information be faxed to Chambers from your bank within the next 24 hours. What was the date of your separation?
November 18th, I believe it was.
That was the date of your separation. When did the trouble start?
Can you be more specific?
Well, when do you think, Mr. Minks, that your former wife would have started to secrete money in the children's account?
I would have no way of anticipating that.
When did you get the first clue that she didn't like you?
She gave, I believe she gave me some self-help divorce papers in November.
In November?
Yeah.
That was your first clue she didn't like you?
We have had ups and downs, but generally they smooth out over time, so I had anticipated.
Well, if she gave you self-help papers in November, that doesn't mean she woke up one morning, Mr. Minks, and said, today I'm going to get the papers. That means maybe she was thinking about it in September or October or July of 2002. Do you understand?
A reasonable person would do so, yes.
Yeah, a reasonable person would think that that's probably a possibility. So what I'm going to have you do, Ms. Boris, is to furnish this court within 24 hours bank statements on these two accounts dating back to June of 2002 The highest amount that was contained in these accounts for each of the boys will be the amount that the court will incorporate in a judgment. Do you understand?
I do, Your Honor.
You got my order?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. This is case number 126 on the calendar in the matter of Collins versus Borigirdi. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats, please.
Mr. and Mrs. Collins, it is your claim that the defendant vandalized your van.
Yes, ma'am.
Van is in both of your names. That's why you're both here. The defendant says she didn't do it, and your accusation is ridiculous. Mr. Collins, I gather that when you were briefly separated from your wife, you dated also very briefly the defendant. It's your claim that when you got back with your wife, the two ladies didn't get along, and then there has been a series of altercations between the two of them.
Sure.
Culminating in this incident with your van. So when was your van vandalized? When was your van vandalized?
On January 6th, 2003.
And where had it been parked, sir?
In a church parking lot.
Are you affiliated with the church?
No, I'm not.
What was it doing there?
The church basically lets the apartment complex park, because we don't have too much parking in our apartment complex, so they let cars park there if there's no parking.
So this happened January 6, 2003. Did you see the defendant vandalize your car?
No, ma'am.
Who did?
Actually, nobody witnessed it. The only thing that we have is my wife's friend, Heather, who's sitting right here. She's seen Miss Borigirdi leaving in her car the night when that happened.
She came to our house about 4:30 in the morning.
On what morning?
The day his car got vandalized, at the 6th?
Yes, the
6th. She came over banging on our door.
Did you go over to their house 4:30 in the morning?
I went at 2 in the morning after they had broken my car window.
Okay, so you went there 2 in the morning. And why did you go there 2 in the morning?
Basically, after I made the police report, I went over there to confront her to tell her to pay for my car.
You thought that Mrs. Collins broke your car window.
I walked out and saw her car by my car drive away, and she yelled at me, "That's what you get," with both of them in the
just
car.
A minute, and they were both in the car.
And my
And you
friend
went
here
there at 2
witnessed
o'clock
that
in the
also.
morning.
Yeah.
Well, that was stupid.
I know, I guess it was, but I
Well,
mean,
have you been doing other stupid things to them?
Nothing stupid, no.
Huh?
No, ma'am.
So at 2 o'clock in the morning, you went over there and told them to pay for the window. And what did they do?
She just kept saying that she didn't do it and get out of here, I'm going to call the police. And I just kept saying, you did do it, I want you to pay for it. Go ahead, call the police, because I'm not doing anything wrong. Tell them to come here.
So you went over there to have an argument with her?
Basically, I guess.
Yeah.
I called the... Sorry.
You went over there to have an argument with her, and you did?
Yeah.
And did you get satisfaction? Did she pay for the window?
No, she didn't.
So I assume that when you left, you were very angry.
Well, I just...
Of course you were. You were very angry when you went over there. So when you got no satisfaction, you were even angrier when you left. Is that a fair statement? Of course it is. Stand up here. Tell me your name.
Heather Roberts.
You saw her car?
Yes.
What time?
It was after the cops had left, so it was like early morning around
After
there.
the cops had left who?
Their house.
Our house. They came to our house.
And you all lived together?
No.
No, she came
I
to
came
pick up
over
my daughter.
to get the baby.
What baby?
Her baby.
For what?
Because of all that conflict.
We didn't want the baby around.
Yeah.
Are you a neighbor?
Well, I'm her best friend.
She's my daughter's
I just
godmother.
live like a block away.
And you were there after the police left?
Yeah.
What did you see?
I saw her car and I saw her with the blonde girl getting into the car next to the church parking lot. And then I left.
Had you seen a blonde girl there that evening?
They came to my door. Her and that lady came to my door, screaming and yelling. They threatened our car. We have incident reports, we have police reports, everything.
Your
She
Honor?
left before the cops. We told her to wait, and she left.
Is there anything else around this church parking lot?
Not really.
Now, when you say you saw the defendant's car, had it been parked?
Yeah. It was like if you pull up in front of the church, the parking lot next to it's not that far away.
The location where you saw them getting into the car, was that a parking space or was it just...
It was on the street.
What does that mean on the street?
Fire zone.
Pulled up in front of the church.
So it's not a parking space?
No.
Actually,
it's
it
just
was-
on the street.
I'm not speaking to you. So it is not a parking space?
No.
That's all I wanted to know.
Thank you.
Can I see damage to the van?
Yes. I have pictures
of all the damage. You want police reports?
Yes.
I got estimates, bill of sale on the vehicle, towing.
What do you mean bill of sale?
It got towed.
It got towed.
We couldn't move it.
And I couldn't pay for the towing costs or anything like that. It was towed because it was vandalized in a church parking lot.
It's towed because it was vandalized in a church parking lot. Well, that's not a violation of the law.
The church
I
towed
know,
it. The church towed it because we couldn't move it.
And I also have...
Just a sec. Don't give me a lot of baloney. Vandalized doesn't mean that you can't drive it.
The tires were slashed, and the windows were all busted out. There's glass everywhere.
There's blood all over the car.
It wasn't drivable.
There's blood all over the
There
car?
was blood
There was
all over
blood.
the car.
It's a malicious act.
One of you must have gotten hurt when you did this to the car. Police saw fresh blood on the ground. Okay. What is this that you're giving me?
It's a bill of sale.
No, it isn't. It's baloney.
That's what, I mean, we didn't...
It's baloney.
That's the only thing that we had. We didn't have any documents or anything like that. We just signed over the car, and I asked them for a bill of sale.
Let me explain something to you, sir. You see something's written over here?
Yeah. At the time, when we were signing it, the pen ran out of ink. If you could see in my signature, it's also, like, kind of faded. It was running out of ink, and then we had to grab another pen. There's nothing phony about that, actually, Your Honor.
Could somebody find out the book value on a 1987 van, GMC Safari minivan? Or do you think you can get me that information from the Blue Book?
Sure.
Thank you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Either you're the worst horse trader or you're just a bad fibber. So you try to give me this piece of garbage, which is meaningless, nothing. You made it up yesterday.
And later today,
He's cussing and he's screaming. He's going to kill the dog. He's going to barbecue it. He's going to skin it alive. She was hysterical. She thought he was going to kill me, come back and kill her. He terrified us.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Chad and Patty Collins claim Chad's ex-girlfriend, Maury Borigierdi, vandalized their van.
What is it again?
It's a 1987 GMC Safari minivan. Let's get it in fair condition.
Okay. Fair condition. I think it's $750.
$750. So you see, Mr. Collins, either you're the worst horse trader or you're just a bad fibber, because you say you paid $3,000 for the car. Where'd you get $3,000 from?
Actually, I didn't pay the whole $3,000. I paid $500 up front, and I'm still paying it off right now.
Show me.
Show you?
Yeah.
I don't have any proof of that right now.
Right.
I do not.
Correct. You see, I didn't even know that when I said this was a lot of baloney. Because if this is a bill of sale, it would have said that you were purchasing a car for $3,000 with a $500 deposit and the rest being paid at the rate of $100 a week or $200 a week. Do you understand? So you try to give me this piece of garbage, which is meaningless, nothing. You made it up yesterday, so that it goes in the garbage. That's one thing. Now, so far, I gather that you paid $500 for this old van, if that. The van, according to the Blue Book, is worth $750. You're suing her for $4,000. That means your 87 Safari is the only one in town that's appreciated in value in the last 8 months. Do you understand, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, I understand.
You got it. Good. I'm glad. You got it. I mean, I don't know whether you think that everybody's stupid, but I guarantee you, not all people over 40 are stupid. And as we get older, some of us get smarter. However, you vandalized his van. You and your girlfriend. I don't know which one of you got cut, and quite frankly, I don't give a rat's behind which one of you got cut. You did it because you were in a bad mood, in a foul mood. You called the police. You couldn't even control yourself, because after you called the police, you went storming over to their house. Quiet! You went storming over to their house. You were furious. It was in the middle of the night, and you got zero satisfaction. You and your girlfriend found his van and proceeded to slash his tires and bust out the windows. That's going to cost you $750. Judgment for the plaintiff. Get out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She can't get over the fact that I don't want him. She thinks I want him.
She's obsessed. She needs help.
I obviously broke up with him for a reason.
She calls, peeks out the window, follows him around.
Cousin's husband.
Correct.
Where is your cousin? She here?
No, she's not.
According to what I read, your cousin's husband, Mr. Morales, vandalized your car by kicking it, causing dents in the car. He says he didn't do it. So I have a few questions, and I'm going to start out with him, because I was interested in your answer, Mr. Morales.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you and your wife been married?
About 3 years, going on 4 years.
And according to your answer, sir, your wife and Diana were good friends. Aside from being cousins, they were friends.
Yes.
And your wife called you one day and said that she wanted to go out to speak to Diana, just to have a girls' night out.
She didn't say to go out. She said she wanted to go to dinner. Apparently something was going on.
Well, that's dinner. That's going out.
Okay, well, it turned out to be some other...
No, but that she told you she wanted to go out for dinner.
Yes.
You have children?
Yes, we do.
How many children do you have?
We have 4.
4 children in 3 years. How did that happen?
We have 2 together, and we each brought daughters into the marriage.
So your wife said she would like to have dinner with her cousin Diana.
Yes.
And you said okay.
Yes.
Well, what did you say?
I said dinner would be fine.
You didn't give your wife any specific instructions, though.
No instructions other than I made it clear that I didn't expect her to turn it into a drinking evening. They're very good friends, they're close. I didn't have any problem with that. She hadn't had time to herself, so...
Do you ever go out, Mr. Morales?
No.
Never go out and socialize?
No.
Tell me what happened next, sir.
Once I got home and she was getting ready to go out.
What time was that?
That was 6, maybe 6:30.
Okay.
And her cousin came, picked her up, and then they left. Maybe about 15 minutes after they left, my wife called on the cell phone and told me that they weren't hungry, that they wanted to go and have a couple drinks. Didn't like the idea, but my wife hadn't had really
Well,
much...
what did you say to her?
I ended up telling her it was fine. I told her just I didn't want her out. I didn't expect her to be out late, and I didn't expect her to drink.
But they were going out to drink.
Not to drink and drive. I made
She wasn't driving. She picked her up.
If one was going to be drinking, I assumed they would both be drinking. So I made it clear to her that if they needed me to pick them up, that I would be available to pick them up.
Oh, so you said go and have a good time, but if you're both drinking, I'll be available to come pick you up. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
And I made it clear that I didn't want it to be a late evening. I told her if you're going to go, talk, have a good time, just I don't expect you to come home 11,
Late.
12 o'clock late.
You told her you didn't want him home after 11.
Yes.
How old is your wife?
She's 30.
Go ahead.
At 8:30, it was around 8:30, she called me, and at that time she was letting me know that she was having a good time, but they were wrapping it up and getting ready to head home. Okay, are you guys okay? She said yes, they were fine, everything was going well. So the location where she said they were going to be is maybe 15, 20 minutes. Maybe an hour later, I hadn't received any calls, so I tried calling the cell phone, and at that time the cell phone was off. Off or had no power. I probably tried the cell phone every 15 minutes or so after that, and 8:30 turned to 9:30, turned to 10:30, turned to about 11:30 is when I started getting concerned. I started to get the kids up and wanted to go and see if I can find her, so drove up to the area where they said they were going to be. Different path on the way home, thinking I might see them stranded.
Didn't see them.
Didn't see them. Kept trying the cell phone for...
Okay, you tried the cell phone. You didn't. What time did they finally come home?
They came home at about 2:30.
And what happened when they got home?
Well, they drove up. I was actually getting the kids ready to go out and look again when they drove up. I went out to the car first thing was, what happened? Is everything okay? When I saw the condition that they were in, I turned to being very, very upset. Said some things I probably shouldn't have. Grabbed the door, opened it, took my wife out of the car. The seatbelt was still on, so I had to reach in and undo the seatbelt for her. She had trouble even standing, getting out of the car.
She managed to get into the car.
Yes.
And put a seatbelt on.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Miss Rodriguez, coming back to you. You're out for the evening.
Right.
Where'd you go?
We went to a bar that they served. It was actually a wine and beer bar. They served appetizers. We did have appetizers and drinks.
Okay. What time did you get home?
We probably got to their house around 1:30.
Were you having a good time?
Yes, we did, actually. We had a really good time. It was actually our first night out alone since the time they got married, because she is not allowed to go out alone.
What do you mean she's not allowed to go out alone?
It always has to be in a group setting, or he has to be there.
Had you socialized before she got married?
Yes, we were, besides being cousins, we were really good friends. We always went out before they got married. Once they got married, that stopped.
Did Mrs. Morales turn her phone off?
You know, I'm not sure if she did, but I know she did receive a call from him several times.
Did she take the calls?
Once, when we were about 5 minutes away from their house. She did answer the phone. It was him, and I can tell at that point that something was wrong because she looked frightened, and the way she was speaking was not, I mean, I can tell something was wrong.
Did you speak to your wife before she got home?
No. The phone was off up until she got home, and I showed her that the phone was off once she got inside, and I actually was angry and broke the phone because it was off.
How did you break the phone?
I threw it.
Where were your children?
They were in the bedroom.
Up or sleeping?
Up.
So what happened when you came home?
As we were driving down the street where they live on, I can see him coming out. He must have been looking in the window, or I don't know, because I can see him pulling towards the street.
What are you pulling towards the street? He was in his car?
I mean, walking towards the street.
Okay.
And I was driving in, and he opened the door just like he said. He pulled her out. He yelled at her first and said, "Are you crazy? You're married." Then turned to me and said, you ruined us. And was yelling, and he was out of control, very angry. I didn't say anything. I couldn't believe it. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I was frightened. And he kicked my car twice within maybe a 2-minute gap.
Have pictures of the damage to the car?
I do. As a matter of fact, my car was 3 weeks old when he did this, so I was very upset. Brand new car.
Yes, sir.
When I got my wife out of the car, I expected this whole thing to be about maybe something resulting from slamming the car door. I did not stand there and kick anything. The whole process of taking her out of the car, I did say things that I shouldn't have said, but I did not kick the car. I slammed the extent of what I did to that car was slamming the car door. If I had damaged something, I was furious. I was furious.
Furious?
I was.
So furious, sir, that you couldn't control your temper inside your house, and you took the cell phone and you broke it inside the house with 3 children, at least 3 children, home and awake, according to you at 2:30 in the morning. According to her, it was 1:30. According to you, 2:30 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
You couldn't control yourself sufficiently in front of your children. So you expect me to believe that she dented her own car? Why would she dent her own car, a 3-week-old car? Why do you think she would do that?
She lives in, I have no doubt in my mind, she lives in a apartment complex with underground parking. Yeah. I haven't seen the damage.
Oh, well, show it to him. Show it to him. This didn't come from another car, sir.
Oh, and
this didn't come from another car.
Can I say something? He's seen the damage because I mailed him pictures and a letter about 2 weeks after.
Have you spoken to your cousin since?
No. I called her the next day because I was concerned. I wanted to know. I left her a message on her cell phone. I just wanted to...
She hasn't called you back?
No. Ever since then, she's avoided me, and I know she's avoided mutual friends that we have.
Well...
And actually, maybe, I don't know if she's avoiding them, but he denies her every time someone calls.
Mr. Morales, it's not my job to be a therapist, sir. And if you've got your wife so intimidated that she has a fear of maintaining contacts that she's had all of her life, like her cousin, that's very unfortunate. I certainly wouldn't let you do that to me. The fact that you have no interest in going out and socializing with friends is your business. If your wife, every once in a while, needs to get away from the pressures of a full-time job and taking care of 4 children, she's entitled to do that and blow off some steam every once in a while. Don't you think so, Mr. Morales?
Yes, ma'am.
What's the problem whether she's married or not? Where did you think she was at 1 o'clock in the morning? Did you think she was out sleeping with somebody else?
No, ma'am.
No.
But it's not a matter of the marriage. This was a matter of, all it takes is one mistake of drinking and driving, and it changes everything for my kids.
They got home fine, Mr. Morales.
They had been drinking.
They got home fine. Then you wait until the next day and you say to your wife, you know, it was dangerous last night. You know, you were drinking, Diana was drinking. I told you I'd be more than happy to come pick you up. You really had me worried. That's not what happened, sir. Mr. Morales, what happened is you lost your temper.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
I had no problem paying for the loan, assuming that she would do what she could to help me out.
What you wanted her to do, sir, is to lower your child support payments.
Right.
So that you could pay for this hobby craft.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Diana Rodriguez says her cousin's husband, Alex Morales, kicked a dent into the side of her car. Alex says Diana took his wife out for a night on the town and brought her home drunk.
How many times in the last 4 years has your wife been out for an evening alone without you?
Within 5 times. Not very often.
Not very often. With friends or off to an emergency room? It's a simple question. With friends?
Co-workers.
Co-workers?
Yes.
Out for an evening?
No.
4 or 5 times? For what?
No, after work, a dinner, banquets, things like that, but not to go out clubbing.
You think going out with her cousin is going out clubbing?
Yes.
She picked him. She may be happy with him.
And
if not, it's not your business. Can
and
I see
I
the estimate
that.
to fix your car, please? Mr. Morales, how you and your wife conduct your business is really none of my business. However, you have absolutely no right to take out your frustration on Miss Rodriguez's brand new car. In order to fix her car, it's going to cost $2,600. She probably has insurance to cover it. There's absolutely no reason for her to have to submit this to her insurance because of your hissy fit. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,600. That's all.
While he's excused, you may step out.
He just doesn't want to take responsibility for his actions.
It wasn't a controlling thing. It was her kind of knowing at what point would, I'd be set off.
I don't have a relationship with her.
As far as I'm concerned, if she wants to stay married to me,
Yep. Yes.
Better. According to your complaint, you and your ex-husband got together and decided to purchase a used car for your daughter.
Yes, Ashley.
And each of you was going to contribute $400 to the car.
Yes.
According to you, you gave your husband $400 to buy this car. The car somehow was registered in the name of Miss Palmucci.
Yes.
Your daughter drove the car for a period of time, and then, for whatever reason, Miss Palmucci took the car back.
Yes.
You want your $400 back.
Correct.
Miss Palmucci said it was always her car. Step up, sir. What's your last name?
Mar?
How long have you and your former wife been divorced?
About 4 or 5 years now.
And how long have you and Miss Palmucci been together?
About 7 years.
So I assume you and your wife were separated for a long time before you divorced.
Yes.
How old was your daughter when you left the house?
Like 13, 12, 13, like that.
How old?
10.
10? All right.
They're not always good with dates. Whose idea was it to get this used car for your daughter?
It was my idea.
Where did you find the car?
My niece had it. She was selling the car.
Did your wife, former wife, give you $400 towards the car? Look at me.
It was my understanding that check that she gave me was for the work I did for her at her house a week prior to that. And I gave $200.
How much was the car?
The car altogether was $700.
Did you have a conversation with your former wife with regard to her contributing to the car?
The only conversation that we had was with my daughter and myself and Mary about the car. There was no verbal conversation about the car between me and my ex-wife.
Did you have a conversation with your father about the car?
Yes.
Step up. Tell me your first name.
Ashley.
Ashley, tell me about when you had this conversation with your father about the car.
Well, I was at work and he called and asked me if I wanted to discuss with my mother about getting the car from my cousin.
Well, what specifically did he say?
He said, do you think your mother would go half in buying a car for you? I said, yeah, she would. So I went out and she said, yeah, that's a good idea.
Did your father tell you how much the car was?
Yes.
How much did he say it was?
$700.
And did you tell your mother how much it was?
Yes.
Who did you give the money to?
My ex-husband.
When?
I gave it to him on July 28th.
Did you give it to him in check or cash?
Check.
How much did you give him?
$400.
Why did you give him $400?
Because I was told that the car was $800, and later on, after I had paid it, my daughter had said it was only $700.
Did you originally tell your mother it was $800?
I think I might have.
What date did you get the car?
July 31st.
July 30th.
And when was the car taken back from you?
It's August 21st.
Mr. Marr, you did have a discussion with your daughter about her mother going half for the car, unless you're calling your daughter a liar. Are you calling your daughter a liar?
Me and Ashley discussed it. We didn't discuss anything with my ex-wife.
Are you telling me that you didn't say to your daughter you think your mom would go half with me on a used car for you?
No, it didn't take place, that conversation.
Really?
Yep.
Tell me the work that you did for your ex-wife that you thought she was paying you for.
I put a liner in the pool and a skimmer also.
Did you arrive at a price with her?
No, it wasn't. We didn't compromise the price.
Well, how much did you spend for the liner?
I didn't spend for anything. She bought the liner and I put it in. I installed it and the skimmer.
How long did it take you?
Half a day, about 4 or 5 hours.
So what you're telling me, Mr. Marr, is you want me to believe, sir, that you thought that this $400 was your labor in putting in the half a day?
Yeah, that I paid my brother-in-law with the other $200. Exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though you had not come up with an amount with your wife for what the job was going to be?
No, since she doesn't make that much money, I was just happy with whatever she gave me, that's all.
Mr. Marr, you're full of baloney, sir. Absolutely, positively, 100% full of baloney. If something doesn't make sense in this world, Mr. Marr, it's not true. If something makes sense, it's usually true. What makes sense is you having a discussion with your daughter and saying you think your mom would go half with me on a car for you, and giving her an inflated amount of $800 because that would have covered the tags and the registration, whatever it was to get it on the road. And she going to her mother and saying, would you do that? And her mother said, sure. And her mother hands you a check for $400. You don't even ask what it's for. You say, don't know. It's for the swimming pool. It's for the liner. It's for the work. It's for the, I don't know what this is for. Thank you very much for the check. Then you register the car in your girlfriend's name. What happens to her $400 when you take back the car?
I didn't register the car.
She registered the car.
Because I wrote out the check for the $700, which I have, and I paid for everything else, including the insurance.
Then you got it, Miss Palmucci. He scammed you out of $400.
Who scammed me out of $400?
He did.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
Okay.
Because he got paid $400. So if you wrote out the entire check of $700 plus putting tags and registration on the car, then your boyfriend scammed you out of $400 because he got half of it from his ex-wife, which was supposed to pay
either
for
way,
the car.
the money comes out of a joint checking account, which him and I have. So he didn't scam me out of anything, because that's also where the check is deposited.
Yeah.
Into the account that we both have.
Let me see everything, please. I want to see all the paperwork, please. Going to resolve this right away.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
These two people decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation between him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful.
And later today...
Things need to be paid. She offers to pay for those things. I wasn't going to say no.
Why not?
Somebody offers me money. Who am I to say no?
A creep.
Judy. Pamela Marr claims her ex-husband's girlfriend, Mary Palmucci, illegally titled a Chevy Cavalier in her name. Pamela says the car was supposed to be a gift to her daughter, Ashley.
Why is the certificate of title all mangled?
Because she attempted to take it from my house and tore it in doing that.
Where's the car now?
In my driveway.
Who drives it?
Nobody right now.
Why not?
It's not registered and insured.
Does it still drive?
Yeah, it still
there's
drives.
nothing wrong with it.
Oh, good. You want to give him $350 for this car?
Sure.
Yes. Good, because that's all they paid for. They said they paid
In addition to the
$700.
insurance, the registration, the title, the amount that I had to have it towed in order to get the vehicle back.
Shouldn't have done that. Because
well,
you didn't get
the only
whole
other
story.
choice that I was given by the police department was that I should file a
You didn't
complaint
get the
of
whole
theft.
story, madam. The whole story was these two people have a child together. They decided to buy her a car. He's afraid to tell you that.
The conversation between him...
Try not to speak over me. You will not be successful. You got yourself in the middle of it, and you shouldn't have. But she's going to give you $350. You get the other $400 from him, because that's what she paid him for the car, and you're going to sign over the title to her right now.
I can't sign the title until after the other case goes to court.
What other case?
There's another case that's going to court on the 14th of November.
For what?
Her claim against him for assault.
Her claim against him for assault?
Here's the paperwork. You want to see that?
Can I see it, please? This has nothing to do with the title to the car.
It does. It's in there. It says that she went there and that she attempted to get the title to the car.
I gotcha. I gotcha. We'll give you a copy of this tape. You take it, you show it, and you indicate to the judge who hears that case, if a judge is going to hear that case, that you were directed to, and you have agreed and acknowledged to follow my direction. You're going to sign this over to her, and she's going to give you $350. Bird, have her sign it right now. You created a whole lot of trouble, Mr. Marr, by not being honest with the women in your life. Sign it.
Tell her sign here.
You have now purchased the car yourself. Do you understand?
Yes.
She gets $350. Now she's whole because she's going to take his $400 because they have a joint bank account. You got it?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's ruined a good relationship he had with his 3 daughters. He has no relationship with them now. It's just really, really sad that he would do this to his own daughters.
She'd rather go the avenue of making up lies and causing a problem between people. That's the results that she gets.
It's his fault. He ruined everything with me and my sisters, and there's going to be nothing more.
They want to continue to cause.
All parties in the matter of Tennant versus Holly. Step forward.
Carolyn Tennant is suing her son's friend, 22-year-old Jeffrey Holly, for stealing her golf cart and damaging it while driving drunk.
Miss Tennant, this young man was a friend of your son's?
Yes, ma'am.
You all went camping together?
Yes, ma'am.
And you had a golf cart that sort of takes you to and from, I guess,
Yeah.
a lake or shopping or whatever.
Well, it's like the major mode of transportation out there.
And other people have golf carts. Yes. Mr. Holly took your golf cart without your permission.
Correct.
And he was drunk.
Yes.
You agree with that?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And he had an accident.
Yes.
Your golf cart was damaged.
Correct.
And the golf cart of the other people was damaged.
Yes, ma'am.
The other people sued you as the golf cart owner.
Yes.
Successfully.
Yes.
And do you believe that Mr. Holly has the responsibility of compensating you for both that judgment
Yes.
and the damage to your golf cart?
Correct.
Mr. Holly says that it wasn't his fault.
Yes, ma'am.
And he should have been able to go to court and prove that. And since he didn't have that opportunity because you proceeded without him, he's not responsible. Did I identify your position, Mr. Holly?
Yes, ma'am, you did.
I have to find out a little bit about you, sir. Age.
Age 22.
Occupation.
Basement waterproofing and foundation wall rebuilds.
Number of times arrested.
Since I turned 18, 3 times.
For what?
Disorderly conduct, a malicious assault, and unauthorized use of heavy equipment.
Were you drinking during any one of those 3 arrests?
Yes, ma'am, the disorderly conduct.
Now, have you ever had convictions for any of those things?
Yes, ma'am.
Ever go to jail?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
I did 1 week, and then I got out on a signature bond.
Are those cases over?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Holly, you and booze don't get along, sir.
Yes, I agree, ma'am.
Do you want to tell me what happened with Miss Tennant's golf cart?
Yes, ma'am, I do. That night, it was Memorial Weekend, you know, and there was a bunch of us out there together, and, you know, everybody being of age recently, we all decided, you know, we were going to get drunk and have a good time. They have dances at the barn, whatnot.
You know that you don't have a good time when you get drunk.
Yeah, I'm starting
You
to realize
really
that,
understand
ma'am.
that. You know, most of the time you don't remember. Most of the time you act stupid. Most of the time you get sick afterwards. You really have a much better time if you're sober. That doesn't mean you can't drink. That just means that you have a better time if you're not drunk. Right.
Yes, ma'am.
But you got drunk.
Yes, ma'am.
And?
And I decided to take the golf cart keys from the top of the fridge. So, I mean, I figured, you know, there was people driving it all day and most of the night. I figured, why not? You know, I mean, we were just going to go around the block and come right back. There was another golf cart passing filled with some people that lived down at the next camper down. And I thought they were going to stop, and I guess they thought I was going to stop, and it didn't work out that way.
So?
So I ran into the side of them. They proceeded to get off the golf cart and just completely make an enormous deal of it. I mean, they're golf carts. They don't go over 10 miles an hour.
Oh, they go faster in there.
And during all this, I mean, everything started getting out of control. People were yelling at each other. One of the ladies on the golf cart, her fiancé, decided to sucker punch me. Then I was held from defending myself once I found out in that township I could legally defend myself once somebody put their hands on me. I was held from defending myself. And I mean, why couldn't I get any, you know, closure on that? Because I did make a police report on it, and I figured
You
not
wanted closure. Tell me how you wanted to get...
We're going to make a deal. My brother was going to give the guy $1,500 for his golf cart.
No. I'm talking about you wanted to get closure from being sucker punched, you said.
Yeah, either a chance to defend myself at that moment in time
to
or...
punch him? You wanted to punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were prohibited from doing that. How, sir?
Because Alan Reining
grabbed me and basically pushed me backwards and bear hugged me and wouldn't let me.
Wouldn't let you punch him back.
Yes, ma'am.
And that would have given you closure.
Yes, ma'am.
You've been watching too many psychological programs that seem to be proliferating in daytime television, sir. Not everything gives you closure. You usually refer to the fact that you want closure when somebody in your family dies. You go and visit them and you say, now I have closure. You know, I've seen them, I've said goodbye. Closure is not usually a thing that one refers to, punching somebody back. That doesn't give you closure. Mr. Holly, you're a very polite young man. Do I make you nervous?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you're sweating?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Did it make you nervous when you appeared before the other judges?
Not really.
But I scare you.
Yes, ma'am.
That is a really, really good thing. I've not had a particularly good day today. That is the only thing that's made my day today. The fact that I make you nervous enough to sweat. You owe Mrs. Tennant money. You owe her the money that she spent or will spend to fix her golf cart. And you owe her the judgment that was entered against her for the accident you had when you took her golf cart without permission. Because if you go back, Mr. Holly, these are the objective facts. I'm not going to really scream and yell at you because you've been so polite. I'm going to say it easily so you can get my drift. A, you were drunk. You should never have gotten behind the wheel of any instrument that was moving because you weren't exercising good judgment. B, you got behind the wheel of it without permission. So, in effect, you stole it. You had an accident. You're responsible to reimburse her for any out-of-pocket expenses that she had. And her out-of-pocket expenses were?
$1,782.50.
$1,782.
And 50 cents.
And 50 cents. That's your liability, Mr. Holly. That's your legal responsibility. And if you don't want to incur that kind of obligation, you're not supposed to get drunk and act stupid so that you really don't know what's going on. You're not supposed to take people's property without permission. You're not supposed to get behind something that goes even 10 miles an hour when you're drunk. All of those things you did. Just say, it's going to make you feel better, and you're going to stop sweating. It's my fault. It's my fault. I was drunk. I took your property. I caused you aggravation. I'm sorry. I will make you whole. And if you can't do that, Mr. Holly, I will. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,782.50. That's all.
Thank you, ma'am.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Oh, I think that she just did a wonderful job.
I mean, I'm a little, upset about it.
Used poor judgment and not trying to pay me back.
I do have an alcohol problem. I can admit to that.
And somebody that's not responsible is not welcome.
I have land all over the place I can go.
No, he is no longer welcome back. No.
I make $15 an hour. I mean, I'll pay it, have it done out the way, and I can take my...
Betty Shapiro is suing her son, 22-year-old Jason Hartwick, for a loan to buy an '88 Mustang and for a loan to pay restitution.
Mr. Shapiro.
Yes.
This is your son.
Yes, it is.
Was he a cute baby?
Very cute.
Did you ever think when he was born, when you were taking care of his colds and when you were cleaning up after him, that you'd ever be suing him?
Never.
You must be pretty frustrated.
Very frustrated. He owes me money. I mean, it's not even the money. It's the issue of responsibility. He needs to pay his debts, and that's why we're here.
How many children do you have?
4.
Where does he fit in?
The second son. I have an older son, him, a younger son, and a daughter.
What about your other children? They okay?
They're fine.
So this is what the case is about. You loaned him money for a car.
Correct.
Tell me your first name.
Jason.
Jason, when did your mother loan you money for a car?
I'd say last year around
Mr.
February.
Shapiro, when did you loan him money for the car?
May 13th of 05.
What kind of a car did you buy, Jason?
I bought a 67 Mustang.
67 Mustang?
Or, no, it was an 88, sorry. I was thinking of a different car. 88
You're only
5.0. Sorry.
century apart. What?
Yeah, it's an 88 5.0 Mustang.
And according to your complaint, Mr. Shapiro, he paid on the car.
Yes, he made 4 payments.
And what was the total amount he borrowed?
$1,500.
How much did he pay you?
On 6/14 of 05, he paid $120. On 7/18, he paid $95. On 8/20, he paid $80. On 9/21, he paid $75.
And then he stopped paying.
Correct.
And Jason says he stopped paying because the car got towed.
Yep.
And he couldn't get the car out of impound because he didn't have any money.
Correct.
So he called you, and he said, "Can you give me some money so out of tow?" You said, "I don't have any money to give you to get your car out of tow." So the car didn't get out of tow. He lost the car, and he says it's your fault that he lost the car, so he doesn't have to pay any more money.
Right.
Right? That's your defense.
Yep.
Do you want to say that to me? Because I've said it now, but I would like to hear it coming from your mouth, Jason.
Well, I borrowed the money, I got the car, then where I was staying, I was forced to move, and I couldn't move the car at the time because it was broken down at the time.
So where did you leave it?
In front of my friend's house.
How long did you leave it there?
Like maybe a week before it got towed, because I had to get it fixed, and I was fixing it, and then I'm trying to
Well, you
work.
could have pushed it into somebody's driveway or something.
I didn't
right?
have no driveway to put it in.
Did you call your mom and say to her, "Listen, can I leave the car in your driveway?"
Well, I didn't think to ask her that, and
You didn't
then I would have
think?
had to have it towed over there or something. I didn't have the money for that either.
So you think it's her fault that she didn't lend you more money?
Yeah, so I can get the car. If I don't have a car, why should I give her the money for it?
Let me ask you this question, Jason. How old are you?
22.
Did you go to high school?
Yeah.
Did you finish?
No.
That was a big mistake.
Yeah, I know.
Now, you look like a pretty stout kind of guy. Do you ever eat at a restaurant?
Yeah.
Go in, you order dinner, finish the dinner, they bring you the bill.
Yeah.
You look at the bill and you say, "Why do I have to pay this? There's nothing on my plate anymore. It's all gone." What do you mean? I want you to make believe that your mother is a bank. And instead of borrowing this money from your mother, you borrowed it from a bank. Same scenario. You're doing road work on the car in the public street where you're not allowed to do it. You leave the car on the street. Somebody gives you a free pass for a while, but after a week, they tow your car. You don't have money to get out. You call the bank. Say, "Listen, I owe you money on a car loan, but unless you loan me more money so I can get my car out of tow, I'm not going to pay you any more money." Hello? Is this a crank call? Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
Yeah.
Does that sound foolish to you, Jason?
Yeah, it does.
So let's not sound foolish. I mean, the first foolish thing that you did was not graduate from high school, because then you would have had money, maybe, to fix your car. Now let's get to the other problem that you had. I'll hear you again, Mrs. Shapiro.
He was accused of stealing at work.
Stealing cash?
Stealing cash.
What kind of place were you working at the time, Jason?
It was like a diner, maybe.
It was a sandwich shop.
And what were you doing?
I was cooking.
And you were accused of stealing?
Yeah.
Out of the cash register?
I don't know. They never told me where it was from. They just told me money was missing, and they feel that I was doing it.
Okay. So he called you?
Correct.
What did he say when he called you?
That he was accused of stealing and that they were going to press charges and put him in jail unless he came up with the money.
And you said what?
I said, "Let's go meet with her."
With whom?
With his boss.
Fine. So you sat down with his boss?
With his boss in her office.
Go ahead.
And at that time, she basically told me exactly what had happened,
Well,
the
tell me-
amount of money that was taken.
When she sat at the meeting with you and your son and accused him of taking this money, what did he say?
He had admitted to doing it. And she was willing
How much
to
money are we
not-
talking about?
$2,715.
I didn't say nothing like that.
What did you say?
I told them that I wasn't admitting
No,
nothing.
look, don't look down. Look over here.
I wasn't going to pay them. I was going to go try and get an attorney, try and fight them and everything. I wasn't taking the rap. I didn't see no proof I did it. I didn't see nothing.
Now, just a second. We're not talking about proof. Listen to me very carefully, Jason. You got your listening ears on?
Yep.
Your mother says that at the meeting with your boss, you admitted taking the money. But if you say to me, "I told them that I wasn't taking the rap for this because I didn't do it," the fact that your mother is a liar. Is that what you want to tell me?
That's what I said.
What did you say?
I said that.
No,
I
no,
didn't
don't
say
look
that.
down. Look over here.
I said I didn't say that.
You said you didn't say what?
I didn't say that I took the money.
What did you say?
I said that I was going to try and fight it.
With what?
However I could.
Is that what you told your mother?
Yeah.
Tell me exactly what you told your mother.
I didn't tell my mom really anything. I just said I wasn't going to, I didn't want to pay it. I didn't want to give him this money. I didn't want her to give him the money. I didn't want nothing. I just wanted to go try and get a lawyer or whatever and try and fight
So
this
then
out.
why in the world, Jason, did you call your mother and arrange to go to a meeting with her? And why did you go to the meeting with her? You've been told that you were accused of stealing. So there was no possible reason for you to call your mother or go to the meeting if what your intention was to say, fine, arrest me, I'm going to get a lawyer, and I'm going to fight these charges. You want to explain that to me?
Just figured she knew more than I did about the type of stuff, and she might be able to give me some kind of advice. What they were telling me.
Just a second. I can understand, Jason, you calling your mother at home and saying, Mom, I want to come over and talk to you. This is what they're accusing me of, and I didn't do it. I want to get a lawyer, and I want to fight it. What I don't understand, Jason, is why you called your mother and then went to a meeting with your boss, with your mother.
I just had her come with me.
Why? Why would you go at all? You knew what you were being accused of.
I don't know. I just went.
3 out of 4 ain't bad. Just say to your mother when she wrote out the check or paid them the money.
Nothing. I didn't actually see that happen.
Well, you knew she did it, right?
Yeah, I didn't say nothing to her, though.
You didn't say anything?
No, I was...
Like, thanks, Mom, for bailing me out, or I don't want you to pay this money because I didn't do this. I'd rather we spend the money on a lawyer so I can have a clear name. Didn't say that?
No.
Did you make an arrangement with your mother to pay her back out of your paychecks?
No, I never set that up.
Who did?
I guess the lady that I was working for did.
And how many days did you work after your mother gave them the money?
I don't know, maybe 3 or 4.
Why did you leave?
Because they were harassing me.
Who was harassing you?
The bosses. They were talking about me in front of me, and I wasn't feeling comfortable about that, so I quit.
And where did you go to work?
I went to another job. I got a job at Dairy Queen.
For how long?
About a month.
And where'd you go after that?
That was just a couple weeks ago. I haven't had a job yet since then.
The maximum limit in the small claims court in your jurisdiction is $3,000. Is that why you sued for $3,000? That's what you owe your mother. Who are you living with?
My friend.
What does your friend do for a living?
He works in, like, he makes the glass for the slot machines in the casinos.
Do you know that you sound to me like you're lost? Seriously. You sound to me as if you're lost, and unless you get control of your life, sir, it's going to be over before you know it. You can't be an irresponsible baby forever. Comes a time when you have to grow up and take responsibility for what you do and not make everybody else's life miserable. Your mother doesn't owe you anything anymore. Now you're on your own. Leave her alone. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $3,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It's been hard. It's been hard, but I mean, I love my son.
I was frustrated with the comments they were making. I was getting mad. I didn't want to get too angry and go try and fight one of them or something, so I just left.
I've always loved my son. I love all my kids, but it just was a matter that had to be taken care of.
Maybe we can start talking and be cool again.
I hope we can just all get along. I love you.
Love you too.
Got stopped by the police for a traffic infraction. The first time you were stopped, what kind of violation was it, Miss Johnson?
Speeding.
Speeding? And how fast were you going?
I think I was going like 60, I think, 50.
Could you keep your voice up, please?
Like 60 or about 55.
And when she got stopped for speeding, according to the complaint, which is, you know, not disputed by the defendant, she gave her cousin's name. Your cousin?
Yeah. Yes,
she gave her cousin's name because she didn't want to get in trouble. And that worked out just fine, except she never showed up to pay the ticket or anything else. She just let it go. Right?
Yes.
Then she got stopped again. And she figured it worked so well the first time, according to her.
Why not?
She gave her cousin's name again.
This must be her favorite cousin.
And what did you get stopped for the second time, Miss Johnson?
Running a stoplight.
In what jurisdiction do you live?
Los Angeles.
She again gave her cousin's name.
Well, can I explain the first time, you know?
It's not funny. I don't think you're funny. I don't think you're funny at all. So let me go further, and then we're going to get the details of this fiasco, because, you know, I like to sort of lay out the situation. So she gives her cousin's name twice. Her cousin finds out about it. How?
I was getting insurance on my car, and the lady notified me that my license was suspended, and I had 2 tickets on my record. And I could not get insurance until the license was cleared up.
So your license, they suspended your license?
Yes, ma'am.
You're lucky they didn't issue a warrant for your arrest.
Yes. And this was, I was driving around. I didn't find out till like 10 months later that my license, it has been suspended 5 months before I even knew about it.
So she and her cousin discuss it, and she decides to do the responsible and goes to court and pleads guilty.
I plead guilty.
Yeah, she pleads guilty.
Okay.
And, and they assess her fines. And this is what the case is about. She wants her cousin to pay the fines, all the fines, for the 2 tickets she got.
Your Honor.
And the cousin says, I don't know. We're family. Because I was trying to understand what your defense is. So before I go on, I want to tell you both the following. What you did was a crime, Miss Key. Do you know that?
No.
Well, I'm going to explain that to you. When you go into court and you pled guilty, someone said to you, raise your right hand, you swear to tell the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
And then they said to you, what is your name?
Dwani Key.
And you told them your name.
Mm-hmm.
And then they said, how are you pleading? Guilty. You said, I'm pleading guilty.
Uh-huh.
And you're pleading guilty because you were guilty.
No, ma'am.
Well, that's what you were doing. When you enter a plea of guilty, what you're doing is you are perpetrating a fraud on the court. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a crime. You can't do that. You can't do that. And when you gave her name, that is a crime. Do you understand that?
Yes, I do.
Is this the first time somebody told you it was a crime?
No, it's not.
When for the first time did somebody tell you it was a crime, Miss Johnson?
The second time after I did it.
You mean you didn't know the first time?
Well, the first time I was intoxicated, and I just said the first thing came to my mind.
So not only were you speeding, you were drunk and speeding.
It was my birthday. But I mean, I was turning 21. So I was intoxicated that day.
Judge, the only reason why I pled guilty, she agreed to pay me. So we didn't have to go through all these court processes. She said, I'll pay you for it, don't worry about it. Under that, I said, okay. Once I got that money, I told her, this is how much it costs, you owe me this, and it has to be done by August 8th. That was our court date. I didn't get any money but $50 from her.
Just a second. You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
Go get it.
Your Honor,
Go
time she did.
get your driver's license.
I didn't bring it with me today.
Go get your pocketbook. Get it and bring it in. Fast!
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Well, she told me she was going to do community service
She's
for
not doing community service for you. Why should she do community service for you? What are you doing?
And later today,
Don't bother me with nonsense. You hear about furniture. Well, don't throw in the kitchen sink to a lawsuit.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Dwanique Key says her cousin, Datiana Johnson, used her identity during 2 traffic stops. Datiana claims on the first occasion, she was drunk.
Empty your pocketbook. Is that your driver's license?
My California ID.
I'll take it. Now empty your pocketbook. I want the driver's license.
I don't have the driver's license here.
Then empty your pocketbook.
You want me to take everything out of my purse?
I want you to give me your driver's license.
I didn't bring it. I didn't drive today.
Unless this court receives your driver's license, madam, within 3 days, it is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles to confiscate your driver's license. Do we understand each other? Do we understand each other?
Yes. Can I ask why, though? I mean, this is
because you perpetrated a fraud on the court. Her driver's license was suspended when yours should have been suspended. Don't you get that?
And I had a failure to appear.
Don't you get that? Your driver's license should have been suspended. You were driving according to you drunk. You got a speeding ticket. You gave somebody else's name. The second time you did the same thing. You ran a red light and gave somebody else's name. And you still have a driver's license. Your driver's license should have been suspended. And if I don't get your driver's license so that you don't have it, It is my intention to inform the police department in Los Angeles, which I may do anyway. Do you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
This belongs to me. Now, you have 30 seconds to tell me why you don't owe those fines.
Because I was under the impression that she did community service.
Are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind?
Well, she told me she was going to do community service.
She's not doing community service for you. Why should she do community service for you? What are you doing?
She was doing it for herself.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Meaning because that's my name.
I don't understand what you mean she was doing it for herself.
Because she called me and told me that the judge ordered her to do community service. So when she told me that, I thought it was taken care of.
What do you do for a living?
Right now, I'm not employed.
How do you support yourself?
I have ways.
How do you support yourself?
My daughter's father.
Supports you?
Child support, basically.
Who do you live with?
My mother.
Why don't you work?
I was employed. I just recently stopped.
Why?
I was working through an agency, and they're looking for another job for me.
What kind of car do you drive?
A Cadillac.
I asked you a question. An answer I want.
A Cadillac.
What year?
98.
In whose name is the car?
It's in my name.
Where is it registered?
In Los Angeles.
Yes.
She just got that car, so she had plenty of time to pay me back. This car is brand new. Paid cash.
You must get a lot of child. In any event, Miss Key, to whom do you owe the fines?
The Los Angeles District Court Traffic Division, I believe.
And how much is owed to them?
Roughly $1,700. One ticket was $1,189, and the second ticket was $565.
Now, Miss Key.
Yes, ma'am.
You don't get any award for brains, because what you did was so wrong. And I understand that you may feel as if, well, it's family and you didn't want her to get into trouble.
Yes, ma'am.
But what you did was against the law. You do understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, you deserve to have a consequence. I assume that you did already have a consequence.
I had enough.
You had enough?
Yes.
I believe that that's probably true. She hasn't had any yet, but believe me, she's going to have plenty, because she's not going to have a license to drive around in this new Cadillac that's in her name. Because I had this. And the police department is going to be notified of her scam. You get it? Perfect. $1,754, judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I just think this is absolutely ridiculous.
I'm happy with the decision.
I know I did something wrong, but, you know...
This is on my record.
I gave her $50.
$50? Come on.
Some people don't get nothing.
The ticket's, what, $1,700? $50 couldn't make or break our tickets.
Yeah, I just have to get over it now.
I hope that she doesn't do it again.
She got her ruling, and now leave me alone.
37-year-old Carol Hayes for money she took from a bank account set up by her grandmother.
Order, all rise.
Judges, number 275 on the calendar in the matter of Hayes versus Hayes. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
I must tell you both that there is nothing sadder for a judge than seeing a family torn apart by money.
I totally agree.
Mr. Hayes, this is your daughter.
That's correct.
And as I understand this complaint, your mother, who is still alive, is that correct?
That's correct.
How old is she?
94.
Where does she live?
She lives with me.
How long has she lived with you?
She's been living with me almost 6 months now.
Where did she live before that?
She lived at 137 Baker Apartment 1.
And she moved in with you, why, sir?
Because she's been diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Now, you have power of attorney over all your mother's property recently acquired, is that right?
That's correct.
According to your complaint, your mother, during her lifetime, set up different CDs and bank accounts for her children and her grandchildren. You're one of the grandchildren.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, your daughter went to the bank and took out a loan against the CD that was in your mother's name in trust for her.
That's correct.
Is that
That's
right?
correct.
And she did so without your knowledge as the person with power of attorney over your mother's affairs. Why did you do that?
I went to the bank under my grandmother's consent. She told me to go get the interest that was on the CD.
When did your grandmother tell you that?
She told me, she was always telling me that, Carlonda, to help you and the kids, go get the interest on your CD, go get the interest on your CD. And I was like, no, because the interest was only $500. I was like, the $500 is not going to help me, Nana. She said, go to the bank and get your interest off your CD.
Okay.
So when I went to the bank,
When? Let her finish, sir.
When I went to the bank, the Great Western representative told me that you could take out a loan against your CD. You don't have to take out the interest. You can just go ahead and take out a loan for 90%.
90% of what was in the account?
Exactly.
And how much was in the account altogether?
Well, the original CD was for $10,000.
Okay. When you say the original CD, had it grown?
There was interest on it from Bayview Federal, where it was. It grown to, my grandmother had left the interest in there, I guess, a couple of times, and it was $10,900.
It was $10,900 when you took out this loan against it?
No, ma'am. It was only $8,000 by the time I got there to the bank.
It was $8,000. Now, how did the account read? What's your grandmother's name?
Nancy.
Nancy
Buckner.
Nancy Buckner in trust for?
No, it read Nancy Buckner, Carlonda Hayes, power of attorney Charles Hayes. Because by
Can I see the way the account is written, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were told that you could take out a loan.
Right, for 90% of the CD.
Okay. And you did?
I didn't take out 90. I only took out 50.
So you took out $4,000?
Yes.
And you had to pay back the interest?
Exactly.
Did you do that?
No, because they told me that no payment was needed to be made until June, a year later. I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to make any payment throughout the year. I could pay $20, $10, or zero until the next year.
Well, Mr. Hayes, this says that this account is in your name, Nancy Edwards, and Carolondra Hayes. That's her.
That's correct.
This isn't an in trust for account.
No, ma'am.
It was in trust until I moved it. It wasn't in Great Western.
I don't care where it was. Listen to me. This has 3 names on this account.
I realize that. Yeah.
That means anybody can do whatever they want with this bit of money. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So you're suing her, your daughter.
That's correct.
I'm going to find out why in a second, Mr. Hayes.
Because he's greedy.
For $4,497, which is, I assume, $4,000 that she took out, and the other $400 for some sort of interest. Is that right?
No.
What?
It's for a credit card that she took out in my mother's name in Nordstrom's that she didn't pay.
I don't have that in the...
I have it here, Your Honor.
I don't care what you have there. I don't have it in your complaint, sir.
And I didn't know about this credit card because
You don't have to address the credit card. It's not in his complaint.
Okay.
It's not in his complaint. It's not here, period.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
She took out $4,000, therefore you're suing her for $4,000. She can take out that money if she wants to.
Yeah, I understand that.
So why are you suing her?
I'm suing her because she didn't pay for it. She made no efforts to pay for it. Can I explain to you how this led up to this?
Sure.
She started off from the day that she graduated. My mother bought her a new car to graduate. From there, she went on to college. A couple of years later, she wanted to get married. She came home. My mother and I paid for her wedding. Came a little over $12,000. After her wedding, she moved on. After she moved on, a couple of years later, she wanted a divorce. She got a divorce. She moved on to Atlanta. In Atlanta, she got in a little trouble. She wanted to come home. She borrowed $3,200 to come home. She said she would pay for that.
Borrowed from whom?
From my mother. Then once she got here, she didn't have any money, so she needed a place to stay. So she borrowed another $1,600.
From whom?
From my mother.
When you say Mr. Hayes.
Yes.
When you say she borrowed the money, were you there when she spoke to her grandmother?
No.
No, I wasn't there, but by me being power of attorney, my mother explained this to me.
Just a second. When did your daughter take this money from your mother? How long ago?
That's been about 5 years ago.
And when were you appointed power of attorney?
1993.
So this all happened before you were appointed
Yes.
as power of attorney. So let me explain something to you, sir. I assume that you were given power of attorney over your mother's money because you say that she suffers from Alzheimer's. She can't take care of her affairs. Is that right?
Not only that, as that I'm the eldest. And
doesn't make any difference. Eldest. So she gave, with no notes, I assume,
no notes. This was
her
just
granddaughter money.
Correct. That's correct.
Good. That's what grandmothers do with their grandchildren.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
He wants all the money. He wants to take everyone's money, and he doesn't want to see us with anything. He wants to remodel his home, buy his Harley Davidson, his boat, and everything else.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes is suing his daughter, Carolanda, because she took money from a bank account set up by her grandmother. Carolanda says the account was opened for her benefit and the money was rightfully hers.
Go ahead. So tell me some more. So she got into trouble. She came back. It's another $1,600. Go ahead.
Would you tell her quit saying words to me?
I don't want you to speak to him.
Yes, ma'am.
If you're speaking to him, I don't want you to speak to him.
I'm not speaking to him.
Good. Go.
Okay, now my mother calls me. She says, I want you to go and give Carolanda the interest off her CD. So instead of making it, just getting the interest off of it, I went and put it into Great Western. It was in Bayview Federal. I put it into Great Western. So then I called her and told her to go down, put your Social Security number on it so that you can get the interest from now on. Therefore, I will put your name on the CD. Her name wasn't on the CD.
That's a lie.
Shh. Hey.
He's not telling the truth.
Well, show me.
Show me.
Show me that your name was on the CD.
Oh, it was on the CD.
Show me. That's what I want to see. Show me.
I'm saying he's lying
Show me.
about the reason why he put my name in the CD.
Show me. Before I went to Great Western, what bank was it in?
Bayview Federal.
Show me Bayview Federal. This doesn't show me anything.
Okay.
Would you tell her also, Your Honor, do not call me a liar?
Shh. Listen. I didn't hear that she called you a liar, sir. If she called you anything, she's not supposed to speak out in court unless I speak to her.
Thank you.
Right now, I'm not speaking to her. I'm not looking at her.
Thank you. So anyway, I went in to take care of some banking business at Great Western, and the bank agents told me that there's no payments been made on this loan, and there's no interest been paid on it, and within the next 6 months, we're phasing out this type of loan because the bank isn't making any money on it. So I said, okay, I'll get in touch with my daughter. I called my daughter, and I asked her, I said, what are you going to do about this? She says, I don't have any money. I'm not going to pay it. Sue me. That's where we are today.
Okay. And your defense is that you didn't have to pay this money back according to the loan agreement by the bank for another few months,
No.
and therefore you were not in default.
Right.
There were a couple. Go ahead.
But he's lying. He did not call me and say that the CD was about to expire and that I better pay the interest on it or whatever. And I don't know what he did, but he closed everyone's CD. No one, all the grandchildren's, my aunts, everyone, every
How much
CD
money
is
does
gone.
your mother have in her estate, Mr. Hayes?
At the time that when she's speaking,
Now, how much money does your mother have in her estate?
she has $40,000.
And this time last year, how much money did your mother have?
Close to $80,000.
And the $40,000 was spent how, sir?
It was, she's speaking of the other loan, is because her brother took a loan out at the same time, this type of loan.
Against?
And then I had to close both of them because the bank was closing out that type of loan.
Does your mother get Social Security, sir?
Yes, she does.
And she gets Medicaid that takes care of her medical expenses?
That's correct.
And she owns an apartment building with 12 units, and each apartment building roughly about $500 on each building.
How many brothers and sisters do you have, sir?
I have one sister.
So I would assume that with the exception of these CDs that she had for grandchildren, how many grandchildren are there?
There was 5 of us.
That most of your mother's assets, when she passes, are going to go to you and your sister. Is that right?
No.
Yes, that's correct. Sorry.
Talking to him?
No, it goes to me. I am the trustee of the account. Of all All of her assets goes to me.
What about your sister?
My sister gets 25% of the net gross of the building, of the money after all bills are paid.
When did your mother make a will?
My mother made a will in 1993, and then she revised it in 1995.
Okay. All right. Now, let me deal with your countersuit, Ms. Hayes.
Yes, ma'am.
You are countersuing your father because you say that he has misappropriated your grandmother's money.
That's correct.
Okay. Nobody made you the monitor of your grandmother's money.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm dismissing your counterclaim. Whether someone is violating their fiduciary relationship, and your father has what we call in the trade a fiduciary relationship with his mother, is something that is going to be dealt with at some point in surrogates court, or a court where they handle estates. A judge in the surrogates court will also determine whether his mother, who he has acknowledged suffers from Alzheimer's, was able to revise a will in 1995, had the mental capacity to revise a will, and I would assume that your aunt, who is his sister, as well as whatever grandchildren there are who might have been mentioned in a prior will contest that will once it's filed and make a determination as to whether or not there has been another breach of fiduciary.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You just told me that your mother is 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's. So stop giving me a lot of baloney.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Charlie Hayes and his daughter Carolanda are in court fighting over money left in a bank account by Carolanda's grandmother. Charlie claims his daughter had no right to withdraw the money.
Let me turn now to this issue before me. What is that, Mr. Hayes?
This is the contract that she signed with the bank.
That's right here.
That she would return the money?
Yes.
Yeah, fine. Okay. Now, if she did not return this money, all that they were going to do is withdraw it.
That's correct.
From the CD.
That's correct.
Now, according to your papers, sir, this CD was originally in your mother's name and trust for her.
That's correct.
Your name was not on it at all, as your mother had CDs for all the grandchildren.
She tried.
What you did, sir, was add your name, according to this, to each one of the CDs.
Only that one, Your Honor.
Why only this one?
Because I wanted to make sure that she paid it back, and if she went to the bank to get any money, I wanted them to notify me.
Well, but you know, what you've done here, sir, is you have added your name as a partner in this CD. Your mother really had no intention of making you a partner in this CD.
She knew about that.
Don't tell me what she knows. She knows nothing now. She's lucky
That's
for her
now.
that she knows. She knew nothing about what you did here, sir, because she had no intention of making you a third partner in this CD.
I took it to her and told her about this, Your Honor.
You just told me that your mother is 94, moved in with you because she can't take care of herself because she suffers from Alzheimer's, sir. Stop giving me a lot of baloney.
No, I'm not.
One of the things that I'm saying to you is I'm distressed. I'm distressed because I don't understand why you as a parent, and your daughter has probably cost you a lot of money over the years.
Of
or
course.
it cost your mother a lot of money. She's probably made some mistakes, and she has been indulged by an indulgent grandmother when she's run into financial difficulty. But what we're talking about is a father suing his daughter for money that really isn't even yours.
I don't want the money.
Well, what I'm asking you, Mr. Hayes, is why bring your daughter to court over this money, which is not... The truth of the matter is she could have taken out more. It wouldn't have been the right thing. But she could have taken out more than 50% of the money. She didn't. And I assume you have a couple of children?
Yes, ma'am.
You have a husband?
No, ma'am.
You work?
Yes.
What do you do?
Import and export.
How much do you earn?
$40,000 a year.
So you earn a reasonable living?
Yes, I do. And rent is outrageous. And 2 kids and child care, and I'm barely
Where are the father of these 2 children? Well, that's a smile. A smile isn't an answer.
One's in Louisiana, the other one, they take care of their children, but I'm just saying that it's difficult to raise two kids by yourself.
Okay. Listen, there comes a point when your family's going to stop bailing you out.
I have...
Your grandmother bailed you out. She gave you money before?
Yes.
She gave you money for $3,000, $1,600, or whatever.
But two of them were gifts. I
I'm not
graduated
even
with
suggesting,
honors from school.
I'm not suggesting that the $3,000 and the $1,600 weren't gifts by a grandmother. Say, yeah, take the money. If you can pay back, fine. If you can't, fine. Sir, it was your mother's intention that this young lady have this money.
Up on her desk.
That's her intention.
That's correct.
That's her intention.
That's correct. I would like for her to have it up on her desk. I love my daughter. I don't want to.
Who are you?
Your Honor, I'm her mother.
What do you have to add to this?
I have to add that I've also helped her and my son.
I don't need that information. It's irrelevant whether you help them. Listen to me.
Yes, sir.
It's irrelevant that you help them. You're supposed to help them. You're her mother.
Oh, yes.
So,
and I will.
Good. Nice. Sit down.
But that's not just it. I mean, she can contest that my father, he just abuses funds. He just goes
I'm not interested in that. Nobody made you your grandmother's money monitor. If you believe that your father is abusing his fiduciary relationship to his mother, go to court and seek to be appointed her guardian because he's abusing it, and then a judge will hear you, and we will move on. But you cannot, madam, countersue for that.
I wouldn't bring my father to court.
So, well, you countersued, and I dismissed the countersuit because you have no basis for a countersuit unless you are the guardian of your grandmother.
What he's doing is just totally wrong.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Mr. Hayes, under the law,
yes,
your daughter did exactly what she had a right to do by taking out this loan.
What about
Under the law, she doesn't even have to pay it back because the account is in her name. And if she chooses to, she can let the loan default, and she can let the CD be reduced by the amount of the loan. That is her right because her name is on this account. Do you understand, sir?
That's my fault.
Case dismissed.
Thank you.
Pardons are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
He has two grandchildren who he never calls or never sees or never does anything for. So at least for them, it would be very essential for them to have a grandfather in their life. But he's neglecting all of that and going for the money.
That's not true. I own property. This lady has nothing to do with this court. She's just visiting from Louisiana. She don't
I'm his former
anything.
wife.
Yeah, and that's why she's former.
I know him. I know him.
I have other things I have to do with her in court. I will see her in court again. I love her very much.
29-year-old waitress Georgina Thomas says her former friend, 36-year-old Carolyn Eclavia, made a false police report that put her in jail for 72 hours.
Order. All rise. Quiet in the courtroom. All rise. Judges number 207 in the matter of Thomas versus Eclavia. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Thank you, Berg.
Very welcome, Judge.
Ms. Thomas, the basis of your complaint is that the defendant had you falsely arrested, according to you, for assault, which caused you to be embarrassed, humiliated, stressed, strained, etc., etc. Is that right?
Yes.
And your story is a rather interesting one, and I think that probably it needs an airing because it led up to this arrest.
Right.
Is that right?
Yes.
How do you know her?
When I lived in Washington State about 7 years ago, I knew her just from the neighborhood we lived in. We were friends. We've been friends. Then I ran into her again down here about a year and a half ago. So we've been friends and stayed in contact here and there when we didn't lose touch with each other for almost 7 years now.
Now, you were both living on a Navy base?
Navy, military housing.
Military, both of you?
Yes, different complexes.
I understand. And according to the papers that I've seen, there was a transaction with a car that started all this trouble.
Right.
Well, tell me about that.
Okay. I sold her the car for $100, and I let her make payments on it because they had no money, no vehicle, or anything. Then then I went on vacation. I signed the title and gave her the keys on the agreement that she would get it out of my name on her husband's next payday because I was leaving on vacation. And then...
what kind of car was this?
Dodge 400. I bought a new car and I...
How old was the car?
I think at 84 or something like that.
So it was a real old car?
Yeah.
She sold you the car?
No, she sold it to my husband. I don't even drive. I've never driven.
She sold it to you or your husband, but there was an understanding that you would get it out of her name so she wouldn't be liable for it anymore.
Yes.
Did you do that?
The agreement was she would wait until we had the money, which would be the next paycheck.
But then you didn't.
The Navy was.
But you didn't do it the next paycheck.
We didn't have the money at that time.
I don't care whether you didn't have the money. That's not her problem that you didn't have the money. Let me just understand this. And you didn't fulfill your agreement with her next paycheck to get the car out of her name. That's what this whole argument was about. Is that correct?
That's what started it, yes.
So then what happened?
Then she tells me on the day I got home that she had sold the car and it's out of my name. So I called the DMV and it was still in my name. In fact, it's in my name to this day.
Did you tell her that you sold the car?
Yes, I did sell the car. My husband and I had separated and I didn't have any finances, so I did sell the car.
Now tell me about this assault. How did this all take place?
It was basically because her husband was driving a car around in my name uninsured. Then she sold it to somebody I don't even know who's driving it around in my name uninsured.
She's very irresponsible.
Then I talked to her on the phone and she said, come over and get your cat. She had my cat while I was on vacation. I went over there. We got into a verbal argument. All I did was throw
over the car.
Over the car, yes, and her not getting it out of my name. All I did was throw the litter box on the ground, and the next thing I know, the police are at my house telling me that I assaulted her and I threatened her life if she didn't sign a bill of sale. And I just kept insisting I didn't do this, you know, and they kept telling me, you know, this is what you did. And they arrested me.
Do you have a copy of the complaint?
The police report?
Yes.
No, I tried to get it, but it had been over 60 days, so they wouldn't give it to me without a court order.
This is untrue, what she says.
Just a minute. Did you call the police?
Yes, I did, and the reason why I called the police is when she came to pick up her mail and her cat, when I turned around to get the mail, she threw the cat on me to where it clawed my back, and its claw stuck in my back. Then I went and I tried to get outside to where somebody could see what she was doing. I did not have a phone in my home. My neighbors heard and saw her yell at me and say that she was going to come back and kill me.
You called the police?
Yes, I did call the police. She assaulted me in my own home.
Well, just a minute. Did you throw your cat on her?
No, my cat was pregnant. I would not harm my cat in any way. I never touched her. I will take a lie detector. I will do anything. I never touched her. I never assaulted. I never threatened her life. I never did any of that. The only thing her neighbors saw...
You might have said a lot of loud things because you were angry.
Exactly. But the only thing the neighbor saw was me throw the kitty litter box on the ground, which was empty, and say, I'll be back later for the car because she told me to come back for the car. The guy who bought it doesn't want to deal with this.
Do you have any photographs of how the cat injured you?
I had them at home, but I never got them developed because I dropped charges on her.
Just a second.
I did not want to press charges.
Hold on a second. Well, even if you didn't want to press charges then, in the criminal proceeding, you're here today, so you knew you were coming to court today. Why didn't you get the pictures developed?
Because I did not even want to have it brought this far.
But you know you were coming here, madam.
And I did not want it brought this far.
Well,
she did not drop the charges. They dropped the charges because she never responded to any of it. The DA dropped the charges.
No,
she never responded to them.
How
I had
long
to
were
go
you in
to
jail?
a mediator. 72 hours.
No, that is untrue.
My bill was $15,000. I was in there with hookers and prostitutes that could have got out for $150. Mine would have been $1,500.
Ms. Thomas, had you ever been arrested before?
No. I was taken to the police station one time for police disturbance when I was like 18 or 19.
You also say in your complaint that the defendant wrote letters to your husband.
Yes.
While he was away at sea.
I have it right here.
I'd like to see those letters, please.
Do you want to see the one to my housing manager?
Yes, I want to see all
This is
the
the one to my housing manager. It's signed Concerned Citizen, but you can tell the handwriting matches it perfectly.
Can I see them?
Every thing you can imagine she wrote about me.
Excuse me. If she is so nice and innocent, then why do my children fear her The same day that she assaulted me, my son is coming home from school. She pulls up to him as he's crossing the street from the school, and she tells him that if you don't get out of the street, she's gonna run him over, an 11-year-old boy.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You are full of baloney, because if you had injuries in pictures, you would have brought them.
And later today,
I think at the time he had something for me, or an infatuation for me, and he thought he could get on the good side of me by posting the $5,000 bill.
Well, that was nice.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Georgina Thomas says her former friend, Carolyn Eclavia, had her falsely arrested after an argument over a car.
Right now, all I have is her complaint. Put it down. I'm speaking. I have her complaint. In her complaint, she mentioned several things. You want to sue her? If you think you have a cause of action,
no, I didn't
file a complaint. I'm asking you, did you write to her husband, Ron?
Her husband had asked me time and time again.
Yes
I
or
did
no?
write him.
Good.
Yes,
and this
he
is
wanted to know if she was having an affair.
Hey, you pay attention to me. You wrote her husband. Did you write to her husband before or after this incident involving the police?
Afterwards.
How long had you known her husband?
I've known him before I met her.
So you felt compelled to say that his wife was cheating on him as a boyfriend?
Yes, he had asked me time and time again whether she was having an affair. And yes, I did write, and I did tell her, because the boyfriend was coming to the house where I babysit, where I live, harassing my sons.
It's not true.
Yes, it is true.
Just a second. All of this didn't seem to bother you when you bought her car.
Because I did not buy it. I don't even drive.
Listen to me. All these things, the boyfriend, who was, according to you, when you wrote this letter to the landlord, a convicted felon, she sells pounds of weed and cocaine out of her house. All of these things didn't bother you when she sold you the car a few weeks before this incident occurred. How come all these things just bothered you after the car incident?
Because the harassment didn't start until after she had the problem with my husband. To me, it was her business. I have no right to judge her. But when she started harassing me, harassing my children, and assaulting me, then yes, I believe.
Then all of a sudden, just a minute, then all of a sudden you decided that her husband had to know, the landlord had to know about all these charges after that. But before it was okay.
I did call the DA that had pressed charges time and time again.
Just a second.
And no one would come because I could not afford the restraining order against her.
You don't have to afford a restraining order, madam. All you have to do is go to court. And if you have a case, you can get a restraining order. Don't give me a lot of baloney. Instead of using the court system, what you did was you wrote letters designed to make trouble for her.
Okay.
That's what you did. And calling the police, because I don't believe she threw her cat at you.
Oh, that is
no, I don't believe it. Because I believe, madam, if she threw her cat at you, you are organized enough, based upon these letters, to have developed the photographs, which you say you have at home. When you knew you were coming to court today to show me the injuries, you are organized enough to do that. So I don't believe that there were any injuries. I believe that she did
then
probably...
Why would the district attorney look at him on my arms, on my back, and decide that he would press charges at her? If there was nothing wrong, why would he take her to jail?
You are full of baloney, because if you had injuries in pictures, you would have brought them. Now, the only issue is, what kind of damages am I going to assess against you? Because I believe that you are a nasty, vindictive person.
Can I explain that?
That's what I believe. You are a nasty, vindictive person. And I believe that she's entitled to be compensated. Now, the truth is, you threw down this item at her.
I'm kidding.
Okay?
Not at her on the ground.
Whatever, Miss Thomas. You were angry. Very angry. And you probably did say something like you're going to be back because you probably got into a major altercation with her. I don't believe that she had the right, really, at that point, because she was not, in fact, injured by you, to call the police. But I believe that there is more of a vindictiveness involved here than anything else. As a result of that letter that she wrote to your husband, did anything happen?
We're now getting divorced, yes.
Well, it wasn't just because of this letter, is that right?
No, we were having small problems at first, but nothing like this.
Okay. I'm not going to ask you whether you had a boyfriend or not. It's really none of my business. The letter was written maliciously, and the letter to the landlord was also written maliciously. That is Army Housing. I'm awarding you $2,500, and that's against you. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,500. Thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. I'll come back to your right, please.
I've taken her food. They had no food, anything. I was a good friend to her. I took her to buy the dress she has on now because she doesn't drive.
Oh,
I did everything for her. The only thing I have to say is, from now on, if your big sister warns you about somebody, you should listen to it. She's just jealous. She's very jealous because I get all the attention and she gets none.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Crawford versus Sullivan. Step forward, please.
30-year-old personnel director John Crawford says he bailed his friend Shannon Sullivan out of jail and he won't pay him back. Shannon claims he never asked John for his help.
You were arrested for assault. He posted bail.
That's correct.
You won't pay him the money for the bail that he posted for you.
That's correct.
Well, let us start with you, sir.
Okay.
Because I found your response, quite frankly, slightly ungrateful. Now, when were you arrested?
On the 24th of November.
What were you arrested for?
Assault.
Don't look down there. You probably don't need it, because
Actually,
I'm sure you
okay.
can tell me
It
exactly.
was the 28th of November.
And you were arrested for assaulting whom?
Somebody at a nightclub.
Were you drunk?
Nope.
So that wasn't an excuse.
No.
You just didn't like them.
No, that wasn't the fact either. I was pulling out of the driveway at the nightclub, and this particular individual walked up to my car and kicked it, a brand new car. Myself and another friend got out of the vehicle and walked up to him, and he started a confrontation. I went back to get in the vehicle, and he came in the vehicle after me. He was on top of me inside the vehicle. The police were sitting out front, and they all swarmed in, and they seen it happen.
Well, that sounds like he assaulted you, so why do you think you were arrested?
Because of the injuries on him.
Which were, I assume, substantial?
Yes.
Were you convicted of that assault,
No, I
ultimately?
wasn't.
Did you go to
case
trial?
was dismissed.
Now, when you were arrested, you were taken to jail,
Yes.
and bail was fixed?
Actually, I was going in for my OR hearing,
What's an OR hearing?
release on my own recognizance.
But you spent the night in jail.
No, I didn't.
You spent any time in jail?
Yes,
Is the reason that you were released from jail because this gentleman posted bail?
that's correct.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Forget the bail. Why didn't you say that?
Well, I didn't think about it at the time in the bill.
Well, you should have thought about it at the time, Mr. Sullivan.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 30-year-old personnel director John Crawford says he bailed his friend Shannon Sullivan out of jail and he won't pay him back. Shannon claims he never asked John for his help.
How long did you know him before you posted this bail?
Not very long, just a couple of weeks.
And would you tell me how it came about that you posted the bail for him?
I happened to be walking out of the nightclub right as this incident started, and I witnessed it. And I saw the police take him away. I received a phone call at early hours in the morning from the friend that was with him, and he said, Shannon is in jail. He wanted me to call you, tell you that he's in jail. This friend said that he told Shannon he could not get him out of jail, and wanted to know if I could do anything to help get him out. He said that Shannon would try to get a hold of me later, which he did. He was able to call me from a desk sergeant's phone.
So he called you from a desk sergeant's phone, and what did he say when he called?
He gave me all the specific information, the case number, told me what he was booked on, told me how much the bail was. I immediately called a bail bondsman. I didn't even think twice about calling a bail bondsman, even though we weren't really, really good friends. I just felt sorry for him. I didn't want anyone to have to spend Thanksgiving Day in jail when he was planning on going to see his family in Arizona the next day. So I placed bail for him. And
how much did that cost you?
Well, bail was $5,000. They charged 20% of that for fees, and then there's filing fees, so it was $760.
And did you have a discussion with him about paying you back?
He wrote me a thank you note, said, I can't believe you did that for me. Don't worry, I won't let you down. I felt sorry for him because he said that he needed money, and I actually knew of some work that was opening up where I work, and so I gave his name to some people at work. He was hired at work, worked there just a short time, and after he stopped working where I work, he stopped returning all phone calls. I tried calling several times.
All right, Mr. Crawford. Now, Mr. Sullivan, $760 is what this gentleman spent on your behalf. Now, you want to try to explain to me why you don't think you owe him this money.
First of all, I knew I was going to an OR hearing and I was going to be released, okay? When I went up to the judge for my OR hearing, she said that you were just released on a $5,000 bond. I did not know who did. I didn't contact anybody. I never contacted my family or anything. Nobody even knew about it except for Paul, which was my friend. I never requested John to bail me out whatsoever. John did it on his own. That was his own thing. He did it.
Yeah, I'd spend that much money just to be nice.
Okay.
So why didn't you just tell the judge,
first,
I'm not accepting this bail, and I'm prepared to hear whatever you have to say, and I'll plead my own case to be released on my own recognizance without any consideration of this bail, so forget the bail. Why didn't you say that?
Well, I didn't think about it at the time in the bail.
Well, you should have thought about it at the time, Mr. Sullivan. You were more than happy at the moment to say, thank you very much. Where's my hat?
Bye-bye.
He wasn't arrested. You were arrested. Sounds
Right.
to me like he was a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a nice guy for doing that. But I think there's more to it than just being a nice guy also.
Like
I think
what?
at the time he had something for me or an infatuation for me, and he thought he could get on the good side of me by posting the $5,000 bail.
Well, that was nice.
Yeah, it was too nice, actually.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
You had an option, sir. Your option was to say to the judge, who posted the bail for me? Question. Answer, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford.
I did ask that.
You did ask.
They did not have that at the time because the bondsman had not delivered everything over to the court
Well, if the
yet.
bondsman hadn't delivered everything over, Mr. Sullivan, they wouldn't have released
That's
you.
what I was told.
They
I didn't
wouldn't
get out
have
until 2
released
hours
you if
later.
the bondsman had not delivered all the paperwork. I've been around long enough to know that.
Okay. I'm just telling you
All
what I
right, this is
know.
not a very difficult case. You owe him $760.
Okay.
Period. End of discussion. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
Like I said in there, I just didn't want anyone to have to spend Thanksgiving in prison. I felt sorry for him, and I trusted him, and I thought I'd get my money back immediately, and it's taken 9 months to do it.
I don't felt I owed it to him. I didn't request for him to do it. He did it on his own will, and there's reasons why he did it.
Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride.
Order. All rise. Your Honor, this is case number 310 on the calendar in the matter of Wilson Chaydez versus Smith. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, sir.
Are you two folks married?
No.
Dating?
Yes.
Do you live together?
No.
I have co-complaints. One $4,000 filed by you, the other $500
Yes.
filed by you, and you are claiming that the defendant, while in the company of several others, assaulted you by throwing bottles which shattered on you.
Correct.
And the car.
And the car that you were in. And according to your complaint, sir, you were in a car with a lot of other people.
Yes, limo bus.
A bus. A limo bus. So why don't you first tell me about this limo bus, and then we'll get to what happened with it.
It was mine and my twin brother's 21st birthday, and we rented it so that all our friends could gather together, all go as one, no one would drink and drive, and then we'd go bar hopping.
And you did that?
Yes.
What time did you board this bus?
Approximately around 8.
And how many bars had you been to before you came on the plaintiffs?
1.
What time did this occur?
About 11:30.
You hit more than one bar between 8 and 11:30?
No, ma'am.
So you stayed in that bar for how long?
A couple hours.
Okay.
We also, we drove around. It's a nice bus. I mean, you like to spend time in it. It has a VCR, a sound system, everything like that. People can dance, walk around. It's very large.
And how many people were in this bus?
Approximately 25, give or take a few.
And you paid for the bus?
No.
And
Everyone pitched in the same amount, about approximately $20.
Now, you spent a couple of hours in a bar, one bar, you said. Is that right?
Yes.
So you made another stop or two on the way. Go to a liquor store?
Yes.
How many liquor stores did you go to?
Okay, we stopped off at a supermarket when we first entered the bus, got some alcohol, drinks, whatnot, went to the, went to the first bar, spent some time there, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, I don't know. And then we went to the next liquor store.
So you bought liquor twice?
Yes.
So everyone was pretty well blotto?
No.
Well, when we ran into the defendant here, they were pretty much intoxicated.
Well, why don't you tell me how, unfortunately, you came upon this birthday party?
Well, we had just come home from Barbara's parents' house. It was about 11:30 at night. The only entranceway into our house is through an alley. At that point, we were living together. Now we're not. There was a limo bus parked blocking the entire alleyway. It was parked illegally. People were outside of the bus urinating on the buildings, and they had open containers. We waited a few minutes. We honked, tried to get them to move up. They didn't comply. At that point, Barbara got out of the vehicle and asked one of the members to move.
Somebody that was outside of the bus?
Correct.
Where was the driver of the bus?
We were at the rear end of the bus. We approached the first person we saw.
The driver of the bus was in there the whole time.
Just a second. So you approached Barbara, the first person that you saw at the rear of the bus, and said, could you please move?
Yeah, asked very politely, and he just slurred in my face and told me to screw off, go around, we're not doing it. And I just didn't know what to do and asked him to get out of the car, which he did.
Your Honor?
Sit. So did you get out
When she entered the vehicle again, and I could tell that they told her no, I then got out of the car. Now, keep
What's
in
your
mind,
first name?
John.
John! My first issue with you, sir, is what?
Couldn't tell you.
Can you tell him?
I think so.
You came across a bunch of people that you saw outside urinating on buildings, John. You don't send your girlfriend out of the car to tell them to move. You get out of the car to tell them to move.
This was, we didn't see all this until we got out of the car, till both of us were out of the car.
I mean, I don't see late at night you going by yourself to this group of people. You know.
There was a lot of girls, too, a lot of young girls around with them, too. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of partiers, so we didn't think anything of it. We asked politely. When they were rude and everything, that's when we just got back in our car and waited.
Who did you ask?
Hey, listen to me.
We never got off the bus. We never, my cousin, this is my cousin right here.
This is my witness.
And my teammate, and we never got off the bus ever.
Did I ask you a question?
Well, I can't stand to listen to you laugh.
Just a second, did I ask you a question?
No, ma'am.
Go ahead.
When Barbara entered the vehicle, I got out of the vehicle, went up to the first person I saw and said, hey, this is the only way to get to our house. Can you please move up the bus? When I got out of the vehicle, of course, other members of the party came up. They see a guy coming out, automatically everybody's instincts comes into play, and then when they create a confrontation. As soon as he said no, I threw up my hands and said, okay. I mean, I'm not stupid. I'm not going to go up to a whole group of guys and pick a fight with them.
So what
Two
did
or
you
three,
do?
yeah, whole group, no. At that point, we got back in the vehicle and waited. This is a very busy street. We have a large police force that patrols the area. I figured, hey, we'll get in the car, a cop's going to come by. These people are going to get busted. They're plastered. No cop came by. We waited about 2-3 minutes. People started getting back in the bus. It pulled up. At that point, we said, great. Pulled into the alleyway, go up, I'd say, about 50 feet to our fence, which you have to get out of the car to unlock the padlock to get into our driveway. When I exited the car to unlock the gate, I heard, hey, you want to start something? I turned to my left. I saw a group of guys coming at me with bottles in hand.
As soon as I saw this group approaching us, I turned to Barbara and I said, "Get in the car now." At that point, she looked at me, eye contact, a bottle flew right past her face. Hit the car, exploded. Dove into the car, and we gunned it. As soon as we slammed the doors, the back window shattered from a beer bottle. Okay,
A lot
bottles,
of beer bottles.
plural, lots of bottles. We immediately sped up. I mean, I don't know how we didn't hit nothing going down our alley, going that fast. Went directly to 7-Eleven down the road and called 911. At that point, the bus pulls by, stops at the red light. All the members on the left-hand side of the bus roll down their window and laugh at us while we're standing there calling the police.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. Much more expensive.
And later today,
His mother doesn't want him to have this car. He knew that, which is why he kept it a secret. You took advantage of him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. John Wilson and Barbara Chaydez say Quincy Smith and his pals harassed and threw beer bottles at them during a drunken bus ride. Quincy claims he's innocent and not responsible for his friend's actions.
So the windshield was shattered. The back windshield was shattered
Correct.
on your car. And who was hit with the glass?
I was barely missed by it, and it hit my car door and shattered all over me. I had to take a shower and take all my, totally change and everything because I had glass everywhere.
What was the damage to the car?
We have pictures.
We have
of the
pictures and
vehicle.
bills.
Now, once the police did arrive to come take our statement, they immediately got a priority call that there had been an altercation at a bar down the street, so they had to leave us. Well, it turns out the altercation was this member and his party had stopped at their next bar and assaulted 2 police officers.
Undercover cops or something. We don't know the whole story.
Okay, now I'll hear from you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to say that I have empathy for the plaintiffs. What happened to her was an awful thing. Should never happen to anyone. But I know for a fact they can't say I did it because I never even got off the bus. They can never pinpoint me out. I didn't get off the bus. I don't know what happened off the bus. I mean, even if the bus driver would have saw something, I mean, it was his responsibility to stay there.
Which bus company did you use?
It was, I believe it was called VIP limo buses.
When you called them, how many people did you say were going to be on the bus?
About approximately 25. You can get, the buses they have will fill 20 to 25, and I believe they even have one larger than that.
And when you called the bus company, did you have to reserve the bus with a credit card?
No.
When did you pay them?
You pay a deposit down,
Well,
and then when,
a
then when they arrive, you pay the rest.
Well, I'm asking you,
Okay.
did you pay the deposit in cash or a credit card?
Check.
A check?
Yes.
Yours or your brother's?
Mine.
Yours. So let me understand this, Mr. Smith.
Okay.
You rented the bus.
Yes.
You, sir, are absolutely right that these people can, in all probability, not say who it was who threw a bottle other than the group. Is that right?
That's correct.
That doesn't make you not responsible for this incident, sir.
It didn't even happen on the bus that I was responsible for.
Oh, it happened, sir.
It happened,
with
yes.
people. It happened with people that you invited to celebrate your birthday on a bus. You are still, sir, responsible for the behavior of those people. You. Because somebody is guilty and somebody is innocent. Now, they don't know who it is, but you, who arranged this party, are responsible for their losses because you are in the unique position, sir, if you are not drunk, to know who in that party got off the bus and who in that party actually damaged their property and attempted to assault them with what I consider a deadly instrument, which is a heavy beer bottle.
So,
not them. They're not in that unique position to know. You are.
so I'm responsible for everyone on the bus,
Every single person.
on the bus, and off. Everyone who was also an adult.
Every single person that was partying with you at your birthday party, sir. You hired the bus.
I never got off the bus. I don't know.
Doesn't make any difference, sir.
It does to me.
This is going to be a more expensive birthday party than you thought. much more expensive. Now, you have something that you believe is meaningful to this case that you wish to contribute?
Yeah, I do, Your Honor.
Sure.
First of all,
Step up right there.
Okay, I'm sorry. My cousin and myself never got off the bus at any point. And
didn't you understand what I just said?
I don't know how you can expect him to keep track of 25 people.
He invited them to his bus.
So how is he supposed to keep track of it if they're all adults?
If he can't keep track of them, then he shouldn't have invited them. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then he wouldn't be standing here today, sir.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today...
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
He invited them to come on board for a drinking evening. He is therefore responsible for everything that transpires during the course of that evening. And one of the things that transpired was these people were put in fear of their lives. And if he wishes to turn around and do some detective work and try to figure out who it was that got off the bus and threw bottles at them and smashed their cars,
I hope he would.
That's... no, you!
No, I
not
hope he would. My cousin doesn't want to be here. Do you think if he knew who did it, he would be taking the blame for this?
Well, then he should have been more selective about who he invited on the bus. And he should have seen to it that once the people on the bus started to drink a little too much and started to get a little out of control, he said to the bus driver, who he had hired, because you remember, he sent the check, he hired the bus. These people are a little too unruly. You better take us home because I don't know what's going to happen with them. You, sir, between these innocents and you, you're responsible. Judgment in this case is for one plaintiff in the amount, Barbara, in the amount of $1,000, and you, sir, the amount of $500 as requested. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out. There you go. Sorry. I'll get back to your record, please.
These people do deserve money, but I believe I'm not the one responsible for it. I think I would have been much better off using a different defense, like the bloody glove defense. This is just ridiculous.
And now the next case.
All parties on Schramm Snyder versus Blankenship. Step forward, please.
Bookkeeper Vera Schramm says her neighbor, 29-year-old Marcy Blankenship, ripped off her 15-year-old son Toby when she sold him a car that doesn't run.
How old are you?
I'm 15.
You went and bought a car from the defendant?
Yes.
Did you tell your parents?
No.
Why?
Because I thought they'd say no.
How much did you pay for this car?
$400.
Where'd you get the money from?
My bank account.
When did you find out that he had bought the car?
Almost a week later on November 4th.
You're his mother?
Yes.
Tell me how you found out that he bought the car.
I had called his friend's house to see if he was there. And while I was on the phone, the other parent said, by the way, I'm a little concerned about what we're going to do with Toby's car. I said, car? What do you mean car? Like vehicle? He says, oh yeah, it's parked out on the street, and what are we going to do for street sweeping day? I said, didn't know anything about it. Where did he get it? How long has he had it? So of course we went right over and visited the car and the parents, and I got the paperwork.
Now, you were keeping this a secret?
Yes.
How old were you when you bought the car?
15.
How did you find this car?
I was walking home from my friend's house and I just saw it on the street.
They have a for sale sign?
Yes.
How much were they asking for the car?
$700.
So you paid $400?
Yes.
Who drove the car to where it was ultimately parked?
We pushed it because it didn't run.
How far did you have to push it?
Like 6 or 7 blocks.
Did you ever move the car?
Oh, yeah, and we pushed it to the mechanic. Because she said all it needed was a tune-up, so we pushed it because it was right by his house.
Did you get it tuned up?
Yes.
How much did that cost you?
$55.
And then what happened with the car?
Still didn't run because we took it and we got we got it checked and stuff, and it said that one of the cylinders was bad, so.
What'd your mother say when she found out you bought this car?
She was real mad. And then she put me on punishment.
Where'd you get this $400 from? Did you work for the money?
I went to work in the summer with my dad.
So, you sold him a car.
Yes, I did.
Did you ask him how old he was?
No, I didn't.
Doesn't look 18 to me.
He knew about the car. He phoned 3 times on the car. He came by inquiring about the car twice. I asked him if the first night he came by if he wanted to drive it or if he wanted to leave me a deposit, and I would be more than happy to take the for sale signs off of it. He said no, he didn't have his wallet with him. So I figured he didn't want to drive it because he didn't have his license with him, and that was fine. I showed him the car in and out. I started it up for him and everything, and he didn't have a problem with it. He said it was perfect. He'd be back the next day to please not sell it.
How come I ask you if he doesn't look 18 and you give me this whole long story? Doesn't look 18 to me. Now, you may not know this, but I'm going to tell you now. You cannot enter into a contract with a minor because they're not always so clever. So that's why we have laws that protect minors from entering into contracts. So you have to give him his money back.
He had it for a week and a half. He's blown the motor in it now. What good is it to me?
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Vera Schramm is suing Marcy Blankenship because she sold her 15-year-old son Toby a car that doesn't run. Marcy claims she didn't know Toby was a minor.
When you deal with a minor, you deal with a minor at your own risk. Anybody who has half an eye can see that this young man is not the age of majority. You took advantage of him. I believe that you took advantage of him. And you can't do that. So you owe him $400. Sir, you paid $55 to have the car tuned up?
Yes, ma'am.
You're going to have to eat that.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a form of punishment. I'm sure your mother has something else planned for you if she hasn't already conjured up the appropriate punishment, including, at 15 years old, would seem to me, requiring somebody else to sign off if he wants to go take money out of the bank.
Absolutely. That's a lesson to be learned.
Mm-hmm. Sure is. Mm-hmm. So judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $400. You did return the car?
Not yet.
Do it. She's got to get the car. He's got to get his money back, at least part of it. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Back there to your right, please.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
I was trying to do him a favor. I was asking $700. I sold it to him for $385 because him and his friend ate on the way to my house. So he didn't have the full $400. He had $385.
Furthermore, a minor doesn't know how to file paperwork with the DMV, so whether he told you or not, you should have known better. The paperwork is no good. We can't do anything with it except give it back, which we'd be glad to do. We're happy to do that for you.
Toby, you drove it away from my house.
That's it for nothing.
You drove it away from my house.
I didn't drive nothing.
Year-old attorney Marilyn Thomason says 29-year-old Bruno Herzog owes her for rent and utilities from when they lived together. Herzog says Marilyn is harassing him because she wants him as her boyfriend.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 369 on the calendar in the matter of Thomason versus Herzog. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats.
Miss Thomason, this defendant, according to you, lived in your home, and when he left, he owed you money for rent, utilities, etc.
That's correct.
Do you have a two-family home, or was he living in your apartment?
I rent a large home, and he was the first roommate that I advertised for after my long-term roommate died of cancer a year ago.
So he lived in a home that you rented?
Correct.
So he had his own room?
Yes.
Own bath?
Yes.
And kitchen privileges, is that right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. So tell me about the rental agreement.
He answered the ad in the recycler, and we agreed on $600 a month plus 1/4 of the utilities.
Is that correct, sir?
No, it isn't, Your Honor.
Well, let's start. Did you answer an ad?
Yes, I did.
And you went to her home?
That's correct.
And what agreement did you come to?
Basically, as far as the rental agreement concerned, the rent was going to be $450 per month, and I also gave a $250 deposit at that time.
So you say the rent was $450, and you say it was $600. What about the utilities, sir?
The utilities were going to be fairly split.
Fairly split is not an arrangement, sir. Fairly split sounds ridiculous when you're talking between two strangers. Were you supposed to pay half the utilities, a quarter of the utilities? What were you supposed to pay?
Basically, there was no straight agreement or arrangement on that. It was going to be split between, there was Marilyn and her two sons, plus her boyfriend also living there at the time.
What month did you move in?
I moved in the 1st of March.
Of this year?
That's correct.
And how many months did you live there?
I lived there for 6 months, Your Honor.
And how many months' rent did you pay?
I paid 2 months' rent, and at that time I had given notice of to vacate the day following.
So you paid for 2 months.
And the utilities, correct.
And you lived there for 6 months.
That's correct.
And you lived there March and April. And then you said you were leaving.
That's correct, Your Honor.
But you didn't leave.
But I did not leave.
And you stayed on for an additional 4 months and paid nothing. Why not?
At the time of notice of vacation, to vacate the premises, she had given me, which I have documented, written notices and a note from her stating that it would be okay for me to stay there as long as I want, for free, under no obligation to pay for rent or utilities.
Let me see the note.
Basically what I have and like to present to you at this time.
Don't tell me basically, just show me the note.
If I can present this to you, Your Honor.
Just the note. Show it to her, Bird, would you please?
That's one of several notes. I had a little trouble communicating with him, so I wrote notes.
I just want to see what it says here. Why did you give her notice that you were leaving, sir?
It was a very uncomfortable situation for me from the very beginning. I just felt it was appropriate for me to leave. I just, it was just an unbearable situation in the house.
So, okay. Tell me why it was an unbearable situation.
Basically, the first and foremost reason was the harassment that I've been receiving from her to somehow come into a physical relationship with her.
You mean from the time you moved in?
That's correct.
March and April?
That's correct.
And it was unbearable?
It was
According
somewhat
to you, you just said to
uncomfortable.
me
It was something uncomfortable and unbearable, yes, Your Honor.
So you stayed on, you moved in March, you stayed in April. And after this unbearable situation, you stayed May, June, July, and August for another 4 months.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why?
Basically, she had, you know, we had spoken and she had agreed that she was going to try to basically stop some of the inappropriate comments that she had made. I also have a note stating to my mother that she had made sexually indiscreet comments and harassing comments.
Like what?
She would say, you know, she'd note to her friends, this is my little houseboy, Liz here, isn't he cute? She would tell her friends to come over when I was around. You know, she'd say things like, you know, it'd be great if you know, you wouldn't wear a shirt around the house, you have such a great body. Just a lot of small remarks like that. I mean, there's some photos.
Slowly she turned.
There's some photos here that I have.
Mr. Herzog.
Yes.
If a big guy like you doesn't like the heat, then you get out of the kitchen. Sounds to me as if she's making these overtures to you that you don't like, you pack your bag and you leave. If a situation is unbearable, that's what it means, unbearable. So you leave. You didn't leave, you sponged.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Your beauty is going to go one day, sir. I know you must think you're a very handsome man and you can get away with murder. But anybody who can twist the truth, like you can, is not good looking in my eyes.
And later today,
I'm not a criminal. This is the first thing I've ever been in trouble for in my life. This has taken up way too much of my time already.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Attorney Marilyn Thomason is suing Bruno Herzog for unpaid rent and utilities. Bruno is countersuing Marilyn for sexual harassment.
Show me the rent receipts for May, June, July, and August. Show me your canceled checks to her in the amount of, let's say, your amount, $450 a month.
Okay, excuse me, Your Honor. Basically, the two things that I have here is I have, in the lawsuit, it states from the plaintiff that she states that there is a written agreement. In fact, she refused to ever provide me with a rental agreement.
Mr. Herzog, what word that I just said didn't you understand? Show me the rent receipts from May, June, July, and August.
That's also part of the situation that I have here is that in the beginning, there was cash paid to her. I had asked for receipts on that on several occasions. That was refused to me. I felt that she said to me this was for...
so is what you're telling me, Mr. Herzog, that you paid her in cash?
That's correct.
And you didn't get a receipt?
That's correct, Your Honor, and I had asked for that
You are
time
one
and time
lying
again.
sucker. You just told me no more than 5 minutes ago that you didn't pay her anything for those 4 months. And now you say you paid her, but you paid her in cash?
Yes, Your Honor, and I also have a statement from her in a response.
You just told me you didn't pay her for 4 months. And you told me the reason you didn't pay her for 4 months is because she volunteered for you to stay there for free.
That was
What is it? Did you pay her or did you not?
Your Honor, I paid her for the month, March and April rent.
That's not what I asked you, sir. I said, show me the receipts for May, June, July, and August.
I have no receipts for those, Your Honor.
Because you didn't pay her for those months.
That's correct.
Right. So you owe her for those months. Because if something is so unbearable that you can't live there because you don't like the fact that she is making these suggestive statements to you, you're a big boy whose feet aren't planted in cement, you pick yourself up and you leave.
Well, Your Honor, through conversation with her, I felt that this problem would be resolved. She is an attorney, and I felt that she would understand as far as the relationship goes as a roommate, and there was going to be no physical or relationship
So
ever
did
in
it
there.
stop?
The harassment?
Did it stop?
It did stop for some time, Your Honor.
For how much time, sir?
It would be hard to say. I mean, there was comments made left and right, but maybe for the first month after that, it seemed to be, she seemed to work on it.
Mr. Herzog, what do you do for a living, sir?
I am self-employed. I own a business.
What kind of business do you own, sir?
It's a manufacturing business.
What kind of manufacturing?
We manufacture snowboards.
Snowboards. Mr. Herzog, did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever?
Yes, I have.
Your beauty is going to go one day, sir. I know you must think you're a very handsome man and you can get away with murder, but I'm telling you, I do not find you particularly attractive. Maybe it's because I'm too old. I don't think so. But anybody who can twist the truth like you can is not good looking in my eyes. Now, if this lady had a thing for you, I don't know, maybe she's desperate. Who knows? In any event, you can't stand there as a man and tell me that you were so offended by the way your landlord was treating you, you stayed on for 4 months but didn't pay her any rent. You want to say something?
If I may.
About what?
About the sexual harassments that...
Who are you?
I am Heidi Britton.
How do you know him?
He is my brother.
Where do you live?
I live in Laguna Beach.
Why didn't he live with you?
Because I'm an opera singer and I travel around the world.
Wonderful. So you must have an apartment that's free a lot.
No.
That's vacant a lot.
No, I have a husband.
Well, if the situation with your brother, madam, was so unbearable in his residence, and you, as his sister, who clearly cares about him, did not say, while it's so unbearable there, living with this lady and her 2 children, come and live with me, you're not much of a sister. Now you tell me whatever you want to tell me.
First day I met Marilyn, she had made comments about what a good-looking body, what, you know, does he have a girlfriend? Is there anything that you can do to help me? You know, I'm interested in basically, and I'd like to have a relationship with him.
So?
I told him no, that he had been seeing someone and that was inappropriate. I thought, you know, he's my brother. I don't know you. I'm not going to divulge information or share information, which if he wanted you to know something, he would tell you something. So
what?
On other occasions, she had said to me, I really want Bruno to stay here. I'd like to be involved with him. I was out in the yard with his cats with Bruno. She said, I'll pay him to stay here. I really like Bruno. I'd like he'd be a...
So did you think that that was all very sick?
I thought that was very, very sick.
Very sick.
In fact, I had assisted and started looking for other locations for my brother.
If you thought it was all very sick, why would you allow your brother to stay in a sick situation?
Well,
is he retarded?
No, he's not.
Is your brother retarded?
No, he's not.
Is he dim-witted?
No, he's not.
He owes her money. That's what he does.
Judge Judy is ready to rule, and later today...
You wouldn't know the truth, Mr. Neville, if he came up and bit you in the behind.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Marilyn Thomason wants money owed for rent and utilities from her former roommate, Bruno Herzog. Mr. Herzog says Ms. Thomason harassed and assaulted him.
I'm taking his amount, madam, of $450, right? That's $1,800. And I'm not even tacking on much for utilities, another $50 for the 4 months, bringing your grand total to $2,000. Listen to me. I really have no idea whether she said what you attribute to her. Nothing sounds so lewd and lascivious to me. This is not sexual harassment in the workplace. You didn't work there. She wasn't trying to create a situation to make things unbearable for you so that you couldn't earn a living. You are clearly, at least according to your sister, of sound mind. And you had the ability and the capability to pick yourself up and move if you didn't like what was going on. You don't live there and sponge off somebody. Now, you've got a countersuit for sexual harassment. I assume that you've told me the best statements that you can think of that she said to you during the course of your tenancy that would at least touch my conscience and say that's terrible, right? And I don't find she sexually harassed you at all, sir. If she liked you and you didn't like her, the chivalrous thing to do would have been to have moved out as quickly as possible. Your counterclaim for sexual harassment is dismissed, and I am awarding the plaintiff $2,000 for your back rent and utilities. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She had just shot some photos of me without my consent when I was in the backyard, kind of half naked, I guess you'd say, with no shirt on, for her own, I guess, private use, pleasures.
You're
Disgusting.
An old, disgruntled woman who has 2 children by 2 different fathers. Get over it. He's not going to be a father to your children.
I have many friends, and I'm dating somebody.
Batteries.
No, we got along fine. He had a great sense of humor.
And now the next case.
Parties on Haney versus Neville Neiman. Step forward, please.
37-year-old florist Sue Haney says her neighbors Jeff Newman and Craig Neville stole her bicycle and destroyed it.
Miss Haney, these 2 young men were involved in the theft of a bicycle that you owned.
Correct.
They were arrested, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Found guilty?
No.
Not if
they were arrested and convicted of receiving of stolen property.
But the stolen property was her bicycle?
Yes.
And when your bicycle was returned to you, it was returned in what condition?
Pieces.
So you're suing both of these young men for the cost of your bike, which is $202.64.
Right.
You want to tell me why you don't think that you are responsible to pay her? Let's start with you, Mr. Newman.
First of all, I paid a $200 restitution fine. I spent 2 days in jail. I almost lost my job over this, and I'm not a criminal. This is the first thing I've ever been in trouble for in my life.
So that's the reason why you don't think that you're responsible to pay her at least part of the money.
This has taken up way too much of my time already.
Now,
shouldn't have taken it.
Please.
Order.
Please.
I didn't take it.
Please. And you are Mr. Neville?
Yes.
Mr. Neville, would you tell me why you don't think that you are responsible to pay her at least part of the money for her bicycle?
Well, first of all, I didn't steal her bike, neither did Jeff. I bought the thing from somebody off the street.
Baloney! So let's start with that that's baloney.
No, it's not.
Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. It's baloney. You just so happen to have bought a bike that was stolen from somebody off the street, and you knew one of her children or something, according to the complaint. Is that right?
I've known all of her children for years.
You knew all of her children, so it was just a coincidence that you had the bicycle, and it was taken apart and dismantled so that some of you had the wheels, some of you had the mainframe of the bike. That was all just a coincidence. Am I correct, sir? Just a coincidence?
Yes.
I want you to get him a copy of my book.
I think we would have been smart enough if we'd stolen this woman's bike to have gotten rid of the parts after we'd stolen them.
Mr. Neville, thieves are always stupid. You didn't buy this bike from some unknown person, sir. And if you did, I am certain that you would have told the police the name of the person that you bought the bike from. Did you?
Mm-hmm.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
You told them the name of the person, and did they contact that person?
I don't know.
Did you tell them where they could find that person?
I didn't know where the person lived.
Well, why don't you tell me how it came about that you bought this bicycle from, let us call him John Jones? Why don't you look at me, sir, and tell me how it came about that you bought this bicycle?
I was hanging out with the guy at a party. He told me he had a bicycle.
You were hanging out with a guy at a party.
Mm-hmm.
Which guy?
His name was Steve.
And so Steve told you he had a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right?
Yes.
And you bought it from him?
Yes.
Don't you feel stupid trying to tell me that story?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Don't you feel stupid trying to tell me that story?
No,
Don't you feel
it's the truth. I don't feel stupid telling the truth.
You don't know what the truth is. You wouldn't know the truth, Mr. Neville, if it came up and bit you in the behind. Each of you owes this lady $101 and 32 cents. You, sir, your excuse for not paying her is that this matter has taken up all too much of your time. Not an excuse. And your, sir, excuse that you bought this bicycle from, and I quote, Steve doesn't wash with me. You're entitled to your money, madam. You have a judgment for that amount.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Out the back door to your right, please.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
The only people who have wasted time is me and the law enforcement. If they hadn't taken the bike to begin with, no one's time would have been wasted. That's why they're not allowed at my house. They're not, you were told by me and Greg, stay away from my home, and you came back.
David Union refuses to repay her for a motorcycle she put on her credit card. She also claims he stole her jewelry.
Order, all rise. Yeah, this is case number 395 on the calendar in the matter of Uditsky versus Union. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am.
Mrs. Uditsky, this is your grandson.
Yes. Was.
Well, he still is. Your grandson.
Yeah.
You may be angry at him.
Very.
I assume so. If you filed a lawsuit against him, I assume he's done things to make you very angry.
Yeah.
But your lawsuit complains of really two things. The first thing is that you made a loan to him so he could buy a motorcycle. Is that right?
No. It was put on my credit card.
Did you go with him to the store to buy the motorcycle?
I went with him to the store. How did that come about that you went with him to the store, Mrs. Uditsky?
Because he was crying to me that he had no way of getting to work. He had the girl that he lives with, plus he's got 2 babies. And I felt sorry for the babies because half the time they weren't eating. There was no food.
Were you living with him at the time?
At that time, I had come from San Jose because I was so cold up there that I was staying there. And it wasn't going to be a permanent thing. It was just going to be temporary. I was staying with them at that time. Mandy just turned 4, and Cameron just turned 2.
These are your 2 children, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
And how old are your children now?
They're
4 and 2.
Are you married to their mother?
No, I'm not.
Why not?
Good question.
Well, I know it's a good question. That's why I asked you. Why aren't you married to their mother?
Just hasn't gotten around to it yet.
Some
Financial reasons.
But you live together.
Yes, we do.
She collect welfare?
No.
The children collect welfare?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Any support from the state?
No. None whatsoever.
So why don't you get married?
Financial reasons.
What financial reason? What's the difference if you're living together? I'm just curious. Miss Uditsky, just give me a moment, please. I'm always trying to get information. See what this world is like now.
Because we've decided not to yet, Your Honor.
Why? You
we
made
just
2
decided.
babies.
You can have 2 babies and not be married.
Sure.
Okay.
Everybody does that these days.
All right.
That doesn't make it right.
Doesn't make it right. We have not decided to get married.
What kind of work do you do?
Right now, I don't do any work. I watch my kids all day.
And your girlfriend?
She is a...
Where does she work now?
Nail Money.
What kind of work does she do?
Accounts receivable on a computer.
Uh-huh. And who supports the family?
Well, I do part way, like through bowling tournaments, and she does through working.
You do bowling tournaments? Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
I'm a bowler.
Do bowling tournaments. Miss Uditsky, I'm not going to get to the jewelry yet because you also say that you believe that your grandson stole jewelry from you.
He did. It was jewelry from my husband that my husband bought me. I have proof. My daughter's here. She will tell you the jewelry that my husband bought for me. And I swore up and down that if this ring had disappeared, he would be dead and I would be in jail. Because this is the last thing that my husband gave me. Now, they made their bar mitzvah together. Him at 13, my husband at 70. They had a 3-day affair. My husband's 2 wishes in life were to make a bar mitzvah, which he couldn't make when he was younger, and to go to homeland. After the bar mitzvah, I sent them to Israel, 15 days.
You mean your husband and your grandson?
Right. I couldn't go because I'm handicapped. I sent them there for 15 days. The first thing out of my husband's mouth when he come home is, Mama, now if God wants me, he can have me. He says, I've gotten the wishes I wanted. That was all of 1985. December 1st, 1985, my husband passed away. This is the last ring, and my husband bought me loads of gold. She'll tell you. He was always buying me beautiful things. 48 years. I love that man. There's another man in the world for me.
What makes you think that
this boy stayed in my bedroom when I had my hip broken in the house there from the dog, when the dog pushed me, and I was in the hospital for 3 weeks. I have a metal plate with 4 metal bolts here. He stayed in my bedroom. He stole the money from me, from in my drawers, from my purse. She'll attest to what was missing. She knows that he slept in my room and that he had everything available. I never hid money. I had always kept money in the house because the babies would come and they'd say, Bubby, we're hungry. Bubby, I'm hungry. Make me something, Bubby.
Would you step up here?
So
Tell me your last name.
Capricorn.
Miss Capricorn, you're his mother?
Yes, sir.
He has stolen from her. He has stolen from everybody.
Has your son been in trouble during his teenage years?
Yes.
She would have to attest to it because when he was a baby, I was having problems of my own, and my mother and father took custody of him, and he didn't start staying with me until he was 16. But her and my father had taken care of him until then.
Okay.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's still my sister, and to this day, I still consider her as my sister.
But she is, in fact, your biological mother.
Right.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Helen Uditsky wants her grandson, David Union, to return the jewelry and the money spent on a motorcycle.
Let me tell you what this is. Your grandmother is so angry and hurt at you, which is why I've let her tell me this story, because she just had to get it out. Because it sounds to me as if she took on the responsibility of raising you for 16 years almost.
Correct.
It was probably something that she didn't bargain for, that she didn't necessarily relish, but it was an obligation that she and your grandfather took over when your mother wasn't in a position to take care of you, for whatever reasons. We don't have to go into that. And what she's saying is you haven't done the right thing to her, for her. You know, parents have the responsibility of raising their children, not grandparents. When grandparents have to raise their children, it's usually because their children screw up. And it's usually at a time when they have looked forward all of their lives to some peace. When you're 75 years old, you sort of figure you've paid your dues. You got it?
I understand.
Good. Now, why didn't you give back the money for the motorcycle?
It was, under my understanding, it was a birthday present.
Well, what makes you think it was a birthday present, Mr. Union?
I was looking through a motorcycle magazine. I said I was going to have my friend AJ pick me up and go look at a motorcycle. I called AJ up and she said, well, why don't you have AJ take me and I'll put it on my card and this will be your early birthday present. It was just before my birthday.
What birthday?
Just in September, my 25th birthday. That way I can go to work and back and whatnot. That's it.
So then let me ask you this question, Mr. Union. Why do you think that if that's the case, your grandmother is suing you for this money? Why? She's got all of her marbles. I'm telling you that right now. If it was
That's not true, Your Honor.
What's not true?
That's not true.
That she has all the marbles?
No,
oh,
that's
yes.
not true at all.
Oh,
okay.
yes, it's true.
After my grandmother had an operation, me and my girlfriend were smoking marijuana in the hospital room.
You were?
She was, no. The doctors had given her Demerol and caused her to lose her mind.
Oh, yeah?
Basically.
You mean forever?
No, not forever. I'm not saying forever. I mean, just caused her to just not be at one state of mind, at a state of mind.
Yeah, well, that happens when you're taking Demerol,
right.
sir. When you're given Demerol, sometimes you have fantasy and things aren't reality.
That's correct.
But when she took you down with her credit card, sir, she wasn't on Demerol.
I understand that.
No. So why do you think, Mr. Union, that your grandmother, who raised you, who cleaned your diapers, who cleaned up after you when you got stomach aches in the middle of the night, who helped you with your homework, who paid for you to go to Israel with your grandfather when you were 13, who nurtured you, why do you think that now your grandmother is standing there suing you for something that was a gift? Explain that to me.
I can't explain that. Because
Neither can I. It doesn't make sense, does it? Now let's get to the jewelry.
I know nothing about jewelry. I don't even know what jewelry she's talking about.
Mrs. Uditsky.
That's enough.
I don't know what kind of problems he has. I assume that you will tell me that he had access to your mother's room and stayed in your mother's room when she was in the hospital. Is that right?
Yes.
So he certainly had the opportunity to take property from her room. And I don't know whether he had the inclination, but he had the opportunity. But he was not the only person in that house, right?
Right.
Who else was in the house?
His girlfriend,
her, and
two babies, and then Diane's father.
He worked all day.
So that, well, it doesn't take long to go into a room. Mrs. Uditsky, the problem is with regard to the jewelry that you got from your husband, whatever amount of money that I could award you, even if I were satisfied that you had been able to prove that he took it, would not compensate for the articles of jewelry themselves. Because what you're really saying is those are things that were precious to you.
Very precious.
But in a court, you have to be able to prove to me that he took it. Now, there's no question in my mind that he's a liar. There's no question in my mind that he's a liar.
Thank you.
That you put this motorcycle on your credit card because he asked you to do that.
Bill from it.
Because he asked you to do that, and he needed transportation. And this baloney story about it being a gift because you were on Demerol is just that you're losing your marbles. Clearly not the case. You're angry at him and hurt, but clearly you have all your mental faculties about you. But you still have to prove to me that he took your jewelry.
He did take my jewelry.
I know you say he did. He says he didn't. He probably did.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
I'm going to say it to you again because I have a feeling that you got something else in between your ears other than what God should have given you.
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing in between your ears. You're absolutely right, sir.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Helen Uditsky wants her grandson, David Union, to pay her back for a motorcycle and some jewelry. He says she's just upset because his girlfriend, Diane Bondison, betrayed a family secret.
What items of jewelry are missing, Mrs. Uditsky?
I have a charm that had rubies. I have a Star of David ring. It's like the other ring. This other one was my great-grandmother's ring, and it was passed down to me. So this one I had restored, but I had a ring same like this, only with the Star of David in there. Everything that my husband bought me, other than the chains, were all religious articles. I converted to Judaism. I was not born a Jew. I converted 48 years ago, and I have lived that life.
How many grandchildren do you have?
I don't have any. I'm through. I have a daughter here, and
You
I
have
have
one
a daughter
child?
in San Jose.
Does your daughter in San Jose have any children?
She's
Yes, she does. Right to her right.
She has children, but she is my stepdaughter.
Okay.
That was my husband's daughter.
Do you have any other biological children other than this daughter here?
She's adopted.
She's your daughter?
She's my daughter. Yes.
Excuse me, Your Honor. That's her
That's it.
granddaughter. My Aunt Sandra is her mother.
Judge,
no.
It's just to make a long story short, okay?
This is
Sandra,
the reason why she's mad at me.
Sandra, who I was always, when I was younger, thought she was my sister, in reality is my mother. I found this out when I was 16 years old, and I've known for many, many, many years. My mother had made a promise to her that, as far as anybody's concerned, I was her daughter, that's it. So, for all purposes, she's still my sister, and to this day, I still consider her as my sister.
But she is, in fact, your biological mother.
Right. I had made the promise because my daughter was got into trouble, having a child out of wedlock, was going to give it up for adoption. My husband and I says, no, this is family. No, we will adopt her. We got a lawyer, and when the baby was born, it was her. When the baby was born, we took her home from the hospital, and we've raised her all her life that we could.
What had happened? What had happened was when they were bringing her from San Jose, Diane was riding with her, and my mom told Diane I was Sandra's daughter. Okay, and she made a promise to her not to say anything.
I thought she'd keep her word to God. That's all.
I didn't say anything to him until after I found out that you told her the truth, and he was the only one that didn't know.
But I knew.
She did know because she came to the house the day that I told him.
Your Honor, I had told David a long
This is
time
the
ago.
reason why everyone's mad at she's mad at me because
She's
I
mad at
found
me
out.
because I told him the truth.
This is the whole reason why. This was a birthday present. I stole no jewelry.
So let me ask you this, sir. Why do you think she's angry at you?
I couldn't tell you.
No, but
She's angry at me, Your Honor.
That has nothing to do with him. No, that has nothing to do with him.
Because all she cares about now is money. That's all she cares about. Okay, the motorcycle was $2,000. She's trying to sue me for $4,000 now.
She says that she took jewelry.
I
from
didn't
her.
take any jewelry. Okay, 10
And
years.
money.
10 years ago.
Judge.
10 years ago, my mother borrowed money from her, and she made her sign an agreement that this is a loan.
10
She
years
didn't.
ago?
She did not pay her. She took her to small claims court and won. If this was a loan, she would have made me sign something. This was not a loan. This was a birthday present.
Your Honor,
That's what it was.
that is a lie.
I did not
because
sign anything.
I took him to pick up the motorcycle. I asked him where he got the money for it because I knew he didn't have any. He told me he got a loan. This is what he told me in the car.
He didn't tell you from whom?
No, he told me in the car on the way, and I knew who he had got how he got the motorcycle was from her.
What did we get him for his birthday?
For his
together?
birthday, we got him a bowling ball and to enter him into a bowling contest. This is what he was given for his birthday present in September.
Sounds to me that whether Mrs. Juditsky is your grandmother or your great-grandmother.
That's not an issue. You're right. It's not an issue.
It's not an issue.
The issue was that this was a birthday present. This was
Baloney! Baloney! It was no birthday present, sir. It was no birthday present.
Were you there?
I get 1,000.
Big mistake. No, but let me tell you something. Common sense and this story suggests to me, and I've said it to you once before, I'm going to say it to you again because I have a feeling that you got something else in between your ears other than what God should have given you.
There's nothing.
Yeah, there's nothing in between your ears. You're absolutely right, sir. Nothing.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Common sense says that a lady who took care of you, wiped your rear end, wiped your brow, took your temperature, nursed you for 16 years, isn't going to bring you to court unless she's really hurt. And the reason she's really hurt is because not only did you take this money that you borrowed from her for the motorcycle, but that you stole from her.
No, I didn't.
When she wasn't in her room, when she was in a hospital, you stole from her, and you stole from her the things that her husband, the 46 years, had given to her that were very
48
precious.
years.
48 years that were
That's
very
not true.
precious to her. That's what common sense dictates to me. So,
She just
Mr.
deserves an
Union,
doctor for her act.
get a job. And you, madam, you want to work? That's terrific. You don't want strangers to take care of your babies? That's too bad. You got babies to support? You got to work. And this guy over here has now a $5,000 judgment to pay off, so he better get a job. That's all. Judgment for the plaintiff.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
She's a money lover. That's all it is. She's just turned into a money hungry, you know what.
David, you told me.
That's it.
You told me that. David, come here.
I'm done. Period.
He has even gotten so mad at me that he's thrown me against the wall, and that's when I told him he had to move out of my house.
Okay, I'm out of here now.
I just want her to have what she needs so she could be in peace. That's all.
আমার নাম ছোট্ট ইতিহাস একটি টাকা ডিপ্লোমা
কেমন আছো তোমরা? ওকে, আমরা যাচ্ছি আবারও দেখা হবে, আবারও যাচ্ছি, আবারও দেখা হবে।
কিন্তু যদি মরে যাই পরে এমন করেন শ্বশুর বাড়ি দেখাই সমস্যা।
মরে গেলে তো সব শেষ। আমাদের খেলার আইডিটা সব পড়ে রবে, কেউ খেলবে না আইডিতে।
সবাই যার জায়গা আনেন।
আগে আমি অনেক সুন্দর করে খেলতাম, এখন আর খেলতে পারি
না।
ও আমি জাম্প করেছি উপর থেকে 60 থেকে, আমার কিছু হয়নি, আমি অনেক স্ট্রং বডি আমার।
আমি ডাবল নিতে পারছি ভাই। এই যে দেখেন, এই যে দেখছেন ছোট গান। ও এটা ছোট গান। হ্যাঁ আমি জানতাম না। ডাবল ভাই ছোট গান দিতে ভাই। এই মে গাড়ি নিয়ে না আমার লগে আমার এবার একটা জিপ আছে ওটা আমি চালাম।
আজকে সবার সাথে অনেক মজা হলো, আজকে আমরা অনেক খেললাম।
যাও এই 1 নম্বর হালকা যাও কে এই ভাই এইগুলো ছোট কামি দেখতে ভাই।
এই ভাই আমার গাড়িতে উঠেন, এই 1 নম্বর গাড়িতে উঠেন, 1 নম্বর।
গাড়িতে উঠলে
হ্যাঁ।
লাভ
1
কি,
নম্বর।
একদিন তো মরেই যাব।
না না মরবো না, মরবো না।
হ্যাঁ
এই 1 নম্বর গাড়িতে উঠো, এই 1 নম্বর। 1 নম্বর অনেক পাজি। গাড়ির মে যাও 1 নম্বর।
1 নম্বরকে ধরে বিয়ে করিয়ে দাও, তাহলে ঠিক হয়ে যাবে।
ওই তো কথা মারে। এ ভাই আমনেরই উঠেন, আমনেরই উঠেন। আমনেরও তো জানা যাইতেছেন, কে উঠেন।
আমি রিভাইভ দিতে পারতাম না।
না না ঠিক আছে না, আপনি গাড়ি মে চড়েন।
না না, আমি রিভাইভ দিব না তোমাকে।
এই 3 নম্বর ভাই গাড়ি মে
আমি
চড়েন।
খেলবই না, ব্যাগই দিতে খেলবই না আজকে ভালো, আগে রিভাইভ দিয়ে খেলবো।
না, আমি তোমাকে দিবই না রিভাইভ।
এই মে গাড়ি মে চড়েন, গাড়ি মে চড়েন।
রিভাইভ
গাড়ি মে
দিচ্ছি,
চড়েন,
আসো আসো রিভাইভ।
গাড়ি মে চড়েন।
বের হয়ে গেছো নাকি?
গাড়ির ভিতরে
লিফট, ও লিফট করেছো, ঠিক আছে।
এই
গাইস,
যে ভাই
তোমরা
এই যে
এখনো যারা যারা লাইক করোনি, লাইক করো, লাইক করো।
ভাই ভাই, আপনি কি মুখ চুটি ভাই? আমি কি ড্রাইভার ছিলাম না? আমি তো বাইরে যাবো।
আজকে আমাদের ইয়া হবে, অনেক সোনার দিন, একটা স্মরণীয় দিন, একটা মানে গোল্ডেন ডে। তোমরা আজকে
তাই।
যারা যারা এখন পর্যন্ত তোমরা যারা ওই 2 নম্বর কাজটা সারোনি, তাড়াতাড়ি সেরে নাও। এটা তোমাদের জন্য
ভাই
একটা।
আমি কত মাত্র সারিয়েছি, 2 নম্বর না 1 নম্বর।
তারপরে তোমরা সুন্দর করে খেলা দেখতে বসো, আজকে খেলা হবে।
নো ভাই, আমি এরপরে আর খেলবো না, বেরিয়ে যাবো, কারণ এতে আমার ফোনে চার্জ কম, তো দেখি কয়েকটা প্যানেল ইউজারে মারতে পারি কিনা, যায় মারাতে আসি।
আমরা তো ভাই হোল্ডে গেতাছি, 1 নম্বর ভাই তো রিভাইভ করবো না আজীবন, কারণ নাই কথা মানছে না। কথা ভঙ্গ করলে আঙ্গন বুঝে
হ্যাঁ,
কি হয়।
1 নম্বরের আর রিভাইভ প্রয়োজন নাই, উনি ব্যাক করে দিচ্ছে।
ওকে রিভাইভ করব না
আরে
আমরা।
এম্বর
ওকে আমরা বিদায় জানিয়েছি, বিদায় পৃথিবী। তো তোমরা সবাই ঘুমিয়ে পড়ো এখন সুন্দর করে।